I attempted to collect every single free exotic in Destiny 2 in one stream, and I know what you're thinking, that's impossible, and normally I'd be inclined to agree with you, but nothing I'm going to tell you about anything in this story today is normal. Also, I'm giving away $30,000 in this video, so make sure to stick around so you can see how that works. For those of you who watched my collecting all 222 obtainable exotics in one stream video, you're going to be familiar with how this goes. After posting that video, I got a ton of positive feedback that I really need to thank you guys for, but one comment that I did get a couple times was, I'd love to do this challenge, but I don't have the money to do it. And that's fair. I spent quite a lot to make that challenge possible, so this time we're going to be doing a challenge that anyone can follow along with. So buckle in and grab some popcorn as we set out on a journey to collect all 99 obtainable exotics that cost $0 and 0 cents in one stream. If you end up enjoying challenges like these, make sure to hit the like button, and if you're new, go ahead and subscribe as we'd love to have you, and if this video hits 5,000 likes, we'll attempt this challenge again when Final Shape comes out and all the episodes come out with it. Also, I'll be doing more challenges like these at twitch.tv/cbgray, so if you want to see these live, make sure to come check us out. Now let's get back to the million-dollar question. How is this possible? Well, under the normal limitations of Destiny challenges, this wouldn't be possible, but our challenges aren't Destiny challenges. They're Pokemon challenges. It doesn't matter if you need Pokemon Gold, Pokemon Silver, and Pokemon Crystal, all that matters is completing your Pokedex. And that's how we're going to be tackling our problem. We're going to be using multiple accounts of Destiny 2 to make this possible. There's always been something so special about collecting exotics in Destiny, just like completing your Pokedex in Pokemon. Admittedly, exotics in Destiny 2 have become way more common to get than Destiny 1.
Galahorn! Galahorn! I got the Galahorn!
So I've always wondered just how hard it would be to obtain exotics in this game when you have $0 to spend. Well, let's find out. It's also important to note that we're going to be including every single exotic in the game that's free, and that means raids too. The only exotic we're going to be leaving out is Heir Apparent, as Guardian Games isn't until the springtime. Everything else is fair game. Now that we have you up to speed, let's go over some pre-hurdles and challenges that we had to take into account before starting a challenge like this. We won't mention all of them as there's too many to go over before starting this challenge, but let's talk about some of the important ones. First off, how in the world can I get 9 exotic ciphers in one stream? Well, if we take into account the New Light cipher you get, the Season Pass cipher, as well as the cipher from Xur, followed by waiting each week for another Xur cipher, this would take at a minimum 7 weeks. And I don't have a month and a half plus to do this. Having multiple accounts is going to solve this first hurdle, and it's going to allow us to get all the exotic ciphers we need without needing to wait nearly 2 months. Side note, this hurt extremely bad in the all exotic challenge video because every single time I bought a Kiosk Exotic on a new account, I had to buy that DLC again. Luckily, this time we don't have to do that. The second hurdle is how are we going to get the raid exotics that require RNG to obtain? Well, once again, this will be solved by having multiple accounts. If I'm unlucky and fail 3 times at a raid exotic, then I'll just have to create another account and try again. Hopefully RNG won't be too brutal, but we know how this always goes. The final hurdle was figuring out what exotics were free. Now this may sound obvious, but it wasn't, and I'll give you some examples. Ikora gives Forsaken Armor exotics for free, but can you obtain exotic armor from Forsaken for free without Ikora? Also, Monte Carlo is a random drop Shadowkeep exotic weapon that can be obtained through an Ikora quest. But can a free-to-play player use it? These were questions that we are going to be setting out to solve, and I won't spoil the answer to those questions. This challenge took me 16 days to do when collecting all 222 obtainable exotics when I could spend money, so the goal when doing just the free exotics where there's only 99 of them is hopefully to get this done in 1 week. Now lastly, let's go over some rules. 1, I can use as many accounts as I want, but they have to be completely brand new accounts. 2, I can farm raid checkpoints as long as I did a full completion of the raid first. 3, I can't spend a single dollar in the game or the challenge ends, not 1 single cent. 4, we're doing a subathon, so the stream ends if the timer hits 0 and continues to raise as people subbed. Thank you guys again so much for all the support on this stream. And 5, lastly, no cheating, but that's a given. With all that out of the way, let's get into this challenge and start the pain.
Let the hunt for the yellow squares commence!
I hope you enjoy. I start our journey the way that every challenge starts off. Say it with me, you know what's coming. With
New Light!
This is Bungie's way of familiarizing the new player with the world of Destiny. It's also a place we know very, very well in our challenges. I decide to call our account this time Spending $0 because I'm not really creative at all. There's a few things that New Light's gonna allow us to do, the biggest thing being traveling through the solar system. Until I go through each of the missions, I can't travel anywhere, which ends up being a huge nuisance. Lucky for us though, Bungie did add something to the New Light experience in Season of the Deep that actually kickstarted off this challenge. They introduced us to Maeve's Key, which when obtained can be used to open up Maeve's stash. This stash has our first exotic of the challenge, the Tractor Cannon. 1 exotic down and 99 to go. Pray for my sanity. One thing that's really nice about getting Tractor Cannon so early in the challenge is the ability to be helpful in fireteam activities even without having the highest power level or the greatest loadouts. We're going to be relying on this weapon a ton. After this, I continued on with my New Light journey where I eventually made it to the tower for the first time and started my tower tour where you get to meet all of our tower favorites. While there, I was able to pick up our next exotic, the error code B, because apparently CB stands for code B. This was not a great sign. My exotic count matched my error code count. Not only that, but to add icing to the cake, I was met with the famous 1 moment screen when I logged back into the game.
You made up. No way. No way.
Nothing like a queue screen on a Wednesday. For reference, for anyone who wanted to know when I started this challenge, it was Wednesday, December 6th at 7:30 p.m. Central. Preferably to avoid error codes and downtime amongst some other reasons that we'll discuss later. I had no idea what would be coming soon enough. When I get back into the game, I quickly try to make up for lost time by finishing the rest of the New Light campaign by beating Navoda and then getting to Guardian rank 2 after talking to Zavala. This granted me the ability to travel through the solar system on our own. Speaking of Guardian ranks, this would prove to be the bane of this challenge, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Before we go any further, I want to highlight something that you better get used to if you're going to be playing this game without spending any money. Pop-ups telling you to spend your money. After we finished New Light, we received our first pop-up of many to come telling us to buy Lightfall. This would become a familiar trend. Next, I head to Ikora that has a number of different quests for us that can grant us exotics. These quests were also added in Season of the Deep. It seems that this season Bungie made an attempt to give new players an easy path to getting some exotic armor early on in their journeys. This works out perfect for our challenge, but it also brings up some interesting questions. While Ikora gives exotic armor quests, we're actually going to wait to talk about these for a bit. We're first going to talk about the Monte Carlo quest that she gives. And this brings us to our first question that we were talking about from earlier. With Monte Carlo being a Shadowkeep random drop exotic, can we actually obtain this from the quest? And even better yet, are we going to be able to use it? For a distinction, random drop Forsaken weapons can't drop for a free-to-play player like Cerberus +1. Well, we would see soon enough. I went ahead and picked up the quest and then I left the tower. Before finding out the answer to our question, we had one easy exotic for the taking that didn't require any questions being answered. An exotic that could be obtained through the Spark of Hope quest added years ago. After finishing New Light, this quest could be kicked off by going to Devrim. After a few short steps and getting to do some exploring in the sewer systems of the EDZ, I ended up in a room with the Ace of Spades card with Cade's Chicken on it and an exotic engram that had the Zalo Supercell. Yeah, I mean the Risk Runner, of course. 2 exotics off the list. Next, I got to work on the Monte Carlo quest, hoping to mitigate some of our confusion. This quest requires you to go back down memory lane, only not really memory lane since I'm totally a new Guardian that's never played the game, so this is all new to me and I have no idea who this Cade fellow is, but as soon as I start to grow slightly fond of him, Uldren ends him.
How's your sister?
Okay. After this, the quest sends me to Europa where I get to use stasis at the end of the mission, which I'm sure is really cool for new players and an attempt to get people to buy Beyond Light for stasis. Lastly, my final step has me go to the Throne World where I get to kill a Hive Guardian and destroy its ghost. Once this is all complete, I head back to the tower where I'm awarded my 3rd exotic of the challenge, the Monte Carlo. As I had suspected, not only could we obtain it for free, but we also could use it as well.
So you're telling me that I have a chance to win up to $30,000, giving away $1,000 every day for 30 days
Every day.
by just downloading this app?
And there's more. All you're going to do is make purchases that you're already making in your day-to-day life, like at this fine establishment or restaurants or groceries, and you are going to make money back. To download the app is free. All you need to do is download it, sign up, and you can redeem your offer all within 10 minutes.
Every time this countdown hits 0, we're going to be giving one of you guys $1,000, but you need to make sure that after you download the app that you also sign up and redeem an offer to give yourself a chance at $1,000 every single day for 30 days for a total of $30,000 given out to you guys. Upside is super easy to use. All that I do when I need to buy gas is open the app, and then it shows me where I can get the most cash back. Then I claim an offer, and then I pump gas like it's normal. You'll save up to 25 cents per gallon on your first tank of gas, which is absolutely insane. It's your money, and I want to give it back to you. Thank you again to Upside for saving us money and sponsoring this video, and now let's get back into the video where we're also saving money. Once we finished it, something important happened that's going to be something I planned on heavily relying on during this challenge, a Vex incursion. For those of you who might not be familiar with the Vex incursion, let me explain. A Vex incursion is something Bungie added in Lightfall that was designed to help new players and returning players alike obtain exotics they don't have. The way it works is the public event spawns on Neomuna throughout the day, and normally it just grants normal rewards. However, randomly throughout the day, these events can sometimes grant an exotic. The event requires you to kill 6 giant Vex Minotaurs, and if you do, it grants you with 1 armor exotic that you don't have. The key part is don't have. This event is bad luck protected, which was crucial when I was collecting all of the exotics, and I knew it would be important for this challenge as well. There would be more we would learn about Vex incursions that would turn this challenge upside down, but for now at this stage of the challenge, this is the information that we knew to be true. Also, there's a Discord that I can link below if you're not sure how to know when Vex incursions spawn. With that being said, I quickly headed over to Neomuna. Despite the misconception that this will be a non-free-to-play event because of its association with Lightfall and Neomuna, this event is actually free to play since you can access Neomuna without paying money. The only kicker for me is that this event is brutal for an under-leveled Guardian, and I was getting absolutely obliterated by everything. Regardless, I tractor what I can, and eventually the event ends and I'm given my 4th exotic of the challenge, the ACD Feedback Fences. Now that we've covered Vex incursions, it's time to talk about one of my favorite things that Bungie has implemented in recent years. You already know what I'm thinking in your heads. Good old Guardian ranks. And when I say favorite, I mean something that haunts me in these challenges. You learn very quickly when doing these style of challenges that Guardian ranks are very restrictive. You don't get access to triumphs until Guardian rank 3. You want to use armor and weapon mods? Well, you can until Guardian rank 5. Have a subclass fragment you've been interested in? Come back at Guardian rank 4. You want to buy golf balls or other materials from Raoul? Sorry, get good and come back at Guardian rank 6. When rushing during these challenges and creating multiple accounts, this can become frustrating really fast. I even learned something new at the beginning of this challenge that it never really happened to me before. Believe it or not, this would not be the last time Guardian ranks would strike during this challenge, but we'll come back to talk about more of this later. I brought up Guardian ranks right now because the next thing on our to-do list is getting to Guardian rank 3. This doesn't require too much outside of a few chores on Neomuna, the EDZ, and Nessus where we essentially meet each planet's vendor. We also had to do the first Lightfall campaign mission as well. The purpose of getting to Guardian rank 3 was to grant me access to the Triumphs page. This would allow me to later do RNG boosting triumphs when attempting to do the raid exotics, but more importantly to right now, it would allow us to get our first exotic cipher in the New Light section. Luckily, this time I learned my lesson and knew exactly what to do and where to go in order to grab this exotic cipher. Unlike the all exotic challenge. Next on our list was to go play Dares of Eternity. This may seem random, but Dares of Eternity plays a huge role in our challenges, mainly because the heroic version started being able to drop golf balls upon Lightfall's launch. This was something we learned during the Collecting All Exotic challenge because I was desperate to figure out a reliable way to get golf balls as a new player without relying on Guardian ranks, since I didn't have time to get Guardian rank 6 on multiple accounts to buy golf balls from Raoul. I know what you're thinking though, you're barely over 1600. How in the world are you going to do Legendary Dares when it's 1830? Well, lucky for us, Bungie made one additional change to Legendary Dares in Lightfall that would completely solve this issue. They made Legendary Dares operate on a Delta system. This means that if your power level was too low, it would boost your power up to the lowest possible threshold where you could still do damage. This is how I was able to damage and kill enemies despite not being anywhere near 1830. With this explanation out of the way, I did a normal Dares of Eternity to be able to unlock Legendary Dares. I also went ahead and picked up the Forerunner quest while I was at it as well. I jump into Legendary Dares and I hope to RNG that we get a golf ball on our first time. It was not a guaranteed drop, and in true me fashion, I didn't get one on our first try.
Get some good luck. Why? Other people gotta send the shards. I knew I wouldn't get one. I just knew it. I had a feeling.
Lucky for us, after a lightning round on our second try, we were able to get a golf ball for our additional efforts.
Thank you. Good. Good.
Despite most of the Kiosk Exotics costing one golf ball, I decided to go for an additional Ascendant Shard from Legendary Dares. I got punished for getting greedy and I didn't get a golf ball on my third try.
Firm Rise of Iron. The glows were so good. I didn't get a golf ball, guys, so I gotta go again.
On my fourth run, we get a lightning round, and just like last time, I was able to get my second Ascendant Shard, freeing my souls from Dares for now at least.
Give me a golf ball, please. It was a lightning round. Let's go.
I head back to the tower, and now everything should start making more sense. I go and purchase the Outbreak Perfected, which costs 2 golf balls, bringing us up to 5 exotics in the challenge. You might have just noticed something when I bought the Outbreak Perfected, especially if you're watching this in Season of the Wish before Final Shape. Unlike last season, Outbreak Perfected doesn't cost Legendary Shards. Your eyes didn't deceive you. This is the case. Bungie as of this season started the process of phasing out Legendary Shards out of the game. Because of this, a lot of things that traditionally cost Legendary Shards stopped requiring Legendary Shards and became more Glimmer focused. This was a huge lucky break for us, as normally our challenges are extremely painful because we need a ton of Legendary Shards. Now this wouldn't be the case for our Exotic Cipher part of this challenge. As an added bonus, Raoul allowed us to exchange any excess Legendary Shards and other materials that we did for Glimmer, and we didn't need to be a certain Guardian rank to make this exchange. With this lucky break, let's now talk about some unlucky breaks. I was hoping to pick up a few easy exotic weapons through the exotic quest kiosk like the Sweet Business and the Arbalist. I remembered picking up these quests when collecting all of the exotics. Unfortunately, to my surprise, the Sweet Business quest required Witch Queen, and the Arbalist quest required Lightfall. I think these would have been great introductory quests to give free-to-play players, but I digress. Also, if anyone was curious if a free-to-play player could get the Chaperone per the kiosk quest despite not having Forsaken, you unfortunately can't because the Blast from the Past Chaperone quest weirdly enough requires Beyond Light. Not sure what Bungie was thinking with these. The Tex Mechanica tournament quest was a wash as well, as it also requires Forsaken. Moving on, it was time to go back to the exotic armor Ikora quest we were talking about earlier. With the 3 exotic armor quests, I can unlock the Doom Marchers, Synthesubs, which are a beast for a free-to-play player, and lastly, the Heart of Inmost Light? And you may be wondering why I said that confused. Well, Heart of Inmost Light, better known as Hoyle, is a Forsaken exotic armor piece. This posed our question from earlier. First, can free-to-play players equip Forsaken armor exotics? And the bigger question, can you obtain Forsaken armor that is not given to you by Ikora? Each quest required a decent amount of farming on our particular subclass. You needed each subclass unlocked before you could pick each of the 3 quests up. With that being said, I started off with Syntheseps with them being so strong for a new player. I had to get a decent amount of solar ability kills, which I got across the EDZ in public events and lost sectors. Once I was done, I returned back to Ikora to claim my prize, the Syntheseps, 6 exotics off the list.
Let's go.
Before moving on to the next exotic armor piece, I cleared up a little bit of confusion on the question I kept getting asked. Can a free-to-play player do the exotic rotator missions? This should answer your question if you're curious.
You cannot do the rotators.
Next, it was time to set my sights on the Heart of Inmost Light. I started getting to work on Ikora's quest, and as I did, a Vex incursion spawned. We fly to Neomuna as fast as I can and we beat the event. After, I actually decided to let the exotic go to my postmaster. I did this to make sure that we didn't get the Ikora armor exotics from the Vex incursion before we earned them from Ikora to take them out of the loot pool. After this, I got back to work on Hoyle. Getting Void weekend kills and ability kills proved to be a pretty time-consuming task. Because of this, I decided I needed to establish a better place to farm these kills with a rally flag. Public events across the EDZ were okay, but not really doing the trick. I didn't have Shiroichi because I didn't have the Forsaken pack, and I didn't have the beginning of Grasp of Avarice because I didn't own the 30th anniversary. We were kinda in a bind. I tried to be creative and I decided to farm in an unlikely place, the Prophecy Dungeon. It was free, the first encounter boss spawned a ton of Thrall, and it had a rally flag, so I thought it was worth a try. Funny enough, this is the only free dungeon, and in case you didn't know, it doesn't have an exotic tie to it. This is the only dungeon in the game that doesn't have one. I asked this when we did the Dungeon Exotic Challenge, and I'll ask again. What existing exotic or new exotic would you attach to the Prophecy Dungeon? If you could, at least. Let me know in the comments below. Once we finished farming, I headed back to the tower to hopefully answer one of the biggest questions of the challenge. Can we unlock a Forsaken Armor exotic through Ikora? I made it to her and she awards us with the Heart of Inmost Light free of charge that we are able to not only get, but also equipped as well. Bungie number 7 exotics down. I thought this would lay to rest everybody's questions, but it really just made for a bigger debate. Could we obtain Forsaken Armor exotics through means that aren't Ikora? Everybody was once again split, so I decided to open the Vex Incursion exotic I had saved. There was a risk of this being Doom Marchers, which would have really sucked since I could just get this from Ikora in a few short moments, but I decided that the chances of this were pretty slim. I told everyone that if the next 5 to 10 Vex Incursion and also World Drop exotic engrams weren't a Forsaken exotic, that we could go ahead and rule this out as being possible. With that being said, I roll the dice on the exotic engram, and lucky for me, I get the Aeon Safes. A non-Forsaken exotic, by the way, and not Doom Marchers, thank God. 8 exotics already obtained. Not bad. After this, it was time to head back into free-to-play Shirochi, aka the Prophecy Dungeon checkpoint. I got back to work jolting as many enemies as I could as the Doom Marcher quest required a decent amount of different arc ability kills. I finally get it done and then complete the lost sector it required me to complete in the Cosmodrome. After I finished this, I headed back to Ikora to pick up the final Ikora armor exotic, the Doom Marchers. 9 exotics down, and another nice one for the late game of this challenge. Next, I wanted to put something to the test that we learned during the collecting all 222 exotic challenge. This is going to be a familiar trend too, putting the knowledge we learned from that challenge into this challenge. As you all probably know, legendary lost sectors when done solo can drop armor exotics you don't have. This exotic will be whatever armor type it is for the given day. Also, legend lost sectors are 1830, so they're nothing I'd jump into right now by myself this early in the challenge. So far, this is all common knowledge and I'm sure you're following me. But what if I was to tell you that you can get exotics to drop in legendary lost sectors with the fire team? This is something I learned during the last challenge. In a fire team, you can get exotics to drop in lost sectors. The kicker is they aren't bad luck protected and they can drop as any of the armor types, not just the daily rotator. I wanted to re-put this to the test during this challenge, and what do you know? And on only our second attempt, this happened.
Told you. I literally told you guys. It's a cheat code.
Your eyes didn't deceive you. The Worm Gods dropped with the fire team, bringing us up to 10 exotics. We were now in double digits and only a little more than 8 hours into the challenge. It was nice to know that this wasn't a glitch and was actually a real reliable thing. I would definitely come back to this later for multiple reasons. Next, it was time to go back to good old Dares of Eternity. Not for golf balls this time, but for an exotic that's tied to Dares of Eternity that you might have forgotten about. The Forerunner. This exotic quest doesn't require the 30th anniversary like Galahorn does. I got to work on the quest which required collecting strange coins followed by knocking out some of the Star Horse bounties. While I was grinding Dares, funny enough, this dropped.
Tractor Cannon can just drop from random enemies in Dares. Strange.
I didn't know this catalyst could drop in Dares from random enemies, but you learn something new every day. After this, I finished the bounties I needed and then picked up the strange key from Zur. Once I had this, all I needed to do was go to the Eternity space area that had the chest we were looking for and it had the parts for the weapon. Once completed, we went to Banshee and he gave us our prize, the Forerunner. 11 exotics down. Another thing that happened while I was getting the Forerunner was something I told you we would get really familiar with. Pop-ups. This time it was telling us to spend money on the 30th anniversary. Shifting gears from Dares of Eternity, it was time to do something fun. Just kidding. It was time for more New Light! Now that we had our 3 Titan exotics from Ikora as well as Monte Carlo, it was time to create my Hunter. We still had 6 more exotics for the taking from Ikora that we could get just from completing her quests. I go through the first New Light mission on my Hunter and then expect to be able to head to the tower and pick up the quest from Ikora. This is because once you complete the full New Light campaign on one character, it only requires doing the first mission on your other characters to fly throughout the solar system. Unfortunately, I had a slight miscalculation and didn't realize that the Ikora quests are locked behind completing the New Light campaign. This meant I had to do the full New Light campaign 2 more times fully on my first account. With all the New Light I already had coming in my future to get all the Kiosk Exotics, this hurt dearly. I get to work and funny enough, a Vex Incursion spawns once again. I hurry back over to my Titan and get to Neomuna as fast as I can. When I complete the event, I'm awarded with the Eternal Warrior. 12 exotics down, not bad. After this, I head back over to my Hunter to continue New Light. Funny enough, if the pain of doing New Light 2 more times when I thought I wouldn't have to wasn't enough, the New Light gods thought it would be funny to laugh at me a little bit more. They brought back the invisible glitch from the beginning of Lightfall so that I wouldn't be able to see any of my weapons. But then, before I could even finish the campaign, the new light gods showed some mercy on me. A third Vex incursion spawned and I quickly headed back to Neomuna on my Titan to complete the event. This time I got the Caprice Horn, unlucky number 13 exotics down. This will make a little bit more sense soon. I get back to my hunter and I finish New Light despite not being able to see my weapons. Before I get to the point of being able to pick up Ikora's 3 exotic armor quests, I'm stopped by an unfortunate miscalculation that I made. Offline maintenance. That's right, on a random Thursday, Bungie decided to take the game offline. This was in the previous week's TWAB or TWID to be fair, but I never saw it. It was gonna be offline for 2 hours. It may not have felt like it because I was so locked in, but more than 12 hours had already passed. I wasn't sure what to do with the next 2 hours, so I decided to just take a quick 2-hour nap since there was nothing else I could do. When the downtime finally ended, I got back on my hunter and unlocked every super to be able to grab my 3 Ikora armor quests to get back on track. The 3 exotics I'd be able to unlock would be the Young Ahamkara Spine, the Graviton Forfeit, and the Forsaken exotic, the 6 Coyote. After this, it was back to free-to-play Shirochi, aka the Phalanx Echo. I decided to knock out all 3 quests at once this time instead of doing them one at a time. Admittedly, this took quite a bit of time to get all of the ability kills for each subclass, but slowly but surely, we got it done. Then we just had to do all 3 corresponding lost sectors as well. One on the EDZ, one on Nessus, and one on the Cosmodrome. After finishing all 3 lost sectors, all that was left was going to Ikora to collect the 3 exotics she had waiting for me. The first being the Graviton Forfeit, the second being the Forsaken Armor exotic, the 6 Coyote, and the final exotic being the Young Ahamkara Spine. With that, we now had 16 exotics and we were approaching the big 20 in under 24 hours. You can probably guess what's next, so I won't bore you with it too much. I once again did New Light to my despair to get my Warlock through the campaign and got him to the point where he could pick up the 3 Ikora Armor exotic quests. This time we could earn the Crown of Tempest, the Starfire Protocol, and the Forsaken exotic, the Controverse Hold. You can guess exactly what I did next. We farmed the Phalanx Echo, which admittedly took forever, followed by the 3 lost sectors for each respective quest. After this, all I had to do was go to Ikora to claim my 3 prizes. Just like that, we had the Controverse Hold, the Crown of Tempest, and the Starfire Protocol, bringing us up to 19 exotics. Next, it was time to do something I was neglecting. Getting my power level up was going to be important for doing high-level activities eventually, like Crota's End and Legend Lost Sectors. It was time to get my Season of the Wish artifact from good old Marasov herself. I took the time to do the opening mission where I got to visit the Wish Wall without having Forsaken or without spending any money. I made a wish that the challenge would end quickly. I would learn later that Riven didn't take very kindly to this wish. After it was completed, I visited Mara, who gave me the artifact. I did also get one more thing, and you can probably guess what it is. A pop-up to purchase Season of the Wish, of course, bringing us up to our 3rd pop-up of the challenge. It was almost the end of day 1, so I decided that now that we had the artifact, that we would farm some legendary lost sectors with the fire team again. Like I mentioned, this wasn't bad luck protected, so this wouldn't be useful later in the challenge, but I figured it couldn't hurt early on. Plus, it was absolutely fantastic for prisms and cores. After just one failed run, to my surprise, this happened.
Even though it's not going to happen.
Ashen Wake dropped, bringing us up to the big number 20 exotics in less than 24 hours of the challenge. After this good luck, I thought for sure it would take a while to see another exotic, as this definitely was not a get-rich-quick method for getting exotics. It would usually take me a decent amount of runs to see even one. With that being said, this is what happened on the next run.
No way! No! No!
Mask of the Quiet One dropped, bringing us up to 21 exotics. I hoped we could make this 3 in a row, but unfortunately nothing dropped on our next lost sector. However, we ran it back, and this is what happened after. Actium War Rig, the Titan chest piece, dropped, bringing us up to 22 exotics. After this stroke of good luck, it was time to shift gears for a little as we were coming up on our first 24 hours of the challenge. I decided it was time to do all of our weekly seasonal challenges to get our artifact bonus as high as we possibly could. While we were grinding, we had the invisibility glitch strike again, only this time for our weapons. We get back to work and keep the grind going until we're stopped again, to my despair. This time, it was because we hit our sub goal. And don't get me wrong, normally this would be a good thing, but when the incentive is eating a massive spoonful of peanut butter, this is the worst thing possible for me.
I don't know if I can do this, y'all. I'm gonna keep it real, y'all.
I opened wide and put the spoonful in my mouth, almost disintegrating in the process. After brushing my teeth multiple times, I get back to work. It was the evening of the Game Awards, so I decided to grind the challenges while we watched the awards. The challenges weren't too hard, just kinda long, like the Stunning Champions challenge where I went back to visit Bury the Barrier, or the painfully long Dreaming City challenge that I did in the Lost Sectors. We were officially on to day 2. We hit 22 exotics in just 1 day's time when we had lost 2 hours to maintenance, so I was feeling really good as we were just barely shy of averaging 1 exotic per hour. At this rate, I was definitely feeling like we could finish this in a week. To start day 2, I decided we would return to Legend Lost Sectors with the fire team for some more semi-easy exotics. I thought this would be ideal since we were still missing so many and didn't have a high chance of duplicates. After 8 failed tries, I was starting to think it might be hopeless, but then the Ophidia Spade dropped, bringing us up to 23 exotics. Honestly, I wasn't tripping over not seeing a ton of exotics here, as there was another reason that I was in here. Legend Lost Sectors were great for getting my character up to the soft cap of 1750. Even when I wasn't getting exotics, each engram dropping from enemies or the chests were getting me up to 1750. Once I was 1750 plus on my Titan and Hunter, it was time to move on to some activities to make me slowly more powerful, as we needed to get to 1800 as fast as possible. It's important to note that the process of getting my power level higher did take a lot longer than it normally would have, and that's because I didn't have access to the best power leveler in Destiny, the Heroic Campaign. Normally, if you want to get to 1750 or even higher, starting off with the Legendary Campaign for Lightfall is the best way, as it'll automatically take you to 1750. However, unlucky for me, I wasn't spending any money, so this wasn't an option. By the time my Titan and Hunter were past the soft cap of 1750, we were crossing the 32-hour mark of the challenge. After this, I decided to do some of my powerfuls and pinnacles. Only the lower tier ones though. I started with the 9 ritual activities. Bungie made it where the 3 ritual activities you do, being Gambit, Crucible, and Strikes, would grant you an exotic pinnacle engram. Admittedly, this was a gamble doing these, as I really needed these exotic engrams to be weapons, as weapons would be extremely harder to get later in the challenge. However, I decided reluctantly that getting my power level higher would make it worth it, and I could always make up for it later. With that being said, I decided to compromise and only earn 2 of the 3 exotic engrams from the rituals and save 1 for later. I do strikes to knock out the 6 required activities. Also, while we're on the topic, Bungie, please take Battlegrounds out of the strike playlist, please. I returned back to Raoul with the 2 engrams and opened them both up. Remember, I really need these to be weapons. The first engram drops and I get the Heart Light, a great drop. Could I make it 2 in a row? Let's see. Thunderlord dropped, which would be a beast of a weapon for this challenge. This was a really lucky break, as we still had a ton of armor in our loot pool. Just like that, we were up to 25 exotics. We were also up to 1765 power, which was not bad, and we still had quite a bit of powerfuls and pinnacles to do. I decided we'd take another little break, as we are now past the 36-hour mark. Zur was going to be here in just a little over 2 hours, so I decided another mini nap would be nice. When I came back, we would do more power leveling, and our good friend Zur would be waiting for us. I wake up 2 hours later, and it's time to get back to it. I ran to Zur like a kid running downstairs to go see what Santa Claus brought for Christmas. I was happy to see that the majority of what Zur was selling I didn't have. This was the first Zur of Season of the Wish, so there was something I assumed that I was completely wrong about. Like I told you all, legendary shards were being phased out this season to prepare for Final Shape, where they'll no longer exist. I showed y'all already that the Kiosk Exotics no longer require them, and that Raoul is exchanging them for Glimmer. With this knowledge, I make the assumption that Zur would also not be asking for legendary shards. I was unfortunately dead wrong on this. I still had a few shards from all the Lost Sector farming, but not nearly as much as I would need to pick everything up. I start off buying the Jade Rabbit, bringing us up to 26 exotics. Before I can make another purchase, to my surprise, a Vex Incursion spawns, and I frantically prepare to head over that way. I make sure to purchase the Insurmountable Skullfort first to make sure we don't get it from the looming Vex Incursion, 27 exotics down. We make it to Neomuna and we down all 6 Minotaurs so that I can claim my prize. And when I do, this happens. I got Capri's Horn, the 13th unlucky exotic we talked about earlier. What had just happened? Vex Incursions are supposed to give you an exotic that you don't have. The bad luck protection is what makes this event so crucial to what we're doing. Surely this just had to be a fluke. This was extremely demoralizing, but I figured it just had to be a one-off. I head back to Zur after a little bit of legendary shard farming to pick up my Fated Engram. I open it up hoping that it's an exotic weapon, as once again, like I mentioned, these are extremely hard to get versus armor. After the Vex Incursion bad luck, the Fated Engram spared our soul, giving us the Colony, bringing us to 28 exotics. exotics. After we picked up the colony, funny enough, another Vex incursion spawned. A chance at redemption. Surely this duplicate nonsense would just be a one-off thing that we would never see again. I say a prayer, and then this was our fate.
Helm of Saint 14.
We get the Helm of Saint 14, bringing us up to 29 exotics. Thank the Lord. I guess it was just a fluke. After this, it was back to the Legend Lost Sector with the Fireteam Prison, as we would start to call it. At this point, the main driver wasn't even exotics. This would be an added bonus, but it was mainly just to get +0 drops. What are those, you might ask? Well, they're drops that drop at my power level. If all my gear is at 1770 or higher, except for a mark that's at 1761, I shouldn't be wasting my powerfuls and pinnacle drops hoping to get a mark. Instead, I should grind activities until I get a +0 mark, which would be at 1770 to fill in that gap. Then when I do more powerfuls, the drop will be higher since that mark isn't bogging us down anymore. I get to work and everything's going pretty well as we're slowly but surely getting the +0 drops we need. The ultimate goal of getting our power up to 1800 was so that I could eventually do these lost sectors solo so I could obtain all the exotics remaining very quickly. To achieve this, I couldn't waste even one powerful or pinnacle drop. This is why I wasn't too focused on getting exotics at this point. However, after 17 runs of not seeing a single exotic drop, this happened.
There it is. We got exotics, but guess what? I have those exotics.
Yeah, we got a duplicate syntheseps. Extremely unfortunate, but what could we do? We press on and keep the grind going. After 7 more fails, to my surprise, this was our next run.
Okay, there we go. We got double exotic drops. Orange got one too. Doomfangs.
Doomfang Pauldrons dropped, bringing us up to the big 30 exotics in just shy of 43 hours. We weren't collecting exotics as fast in day 2, but this was solely due to my emphasis on slowly but surely bringing our power level up. My goal was to be 1800 by the end of day 5. We keep grinding and I have a realization that maybe should have been obvious, but for some reason it wasn't to me.
Oh, wait. These boosters were part of the season pass? I thought I'd still get the booster. I guess it technically is on the bottom, but boosters you have to pay for?
Another unlucky break as we really could use the extra experience while leveling. After this, we take a break from Legendary Lost Sector Prison to start doing all of our weekly bounties across the solar system. We have access to the Cosmodrome weekly bounties, as well as the Dreaming City weekly bounties as well. You don't have to have the DLC to do the bounties in the Dreaming City, unlike the way you need to for some other destinations like the Moon and Europa. I get to work on the Dreaming City bounties, which require an Ascendant challenge as well as multiple blind wells. We also realized during this that you can't see the cats if you're free to play.
What am I looking at, guys? What is this? What am I looking at? Guys, I haven't paid. You think I get access to goodies? You think free-to-play players get access to cats?
Once I'm done with these, I decide it's time to do everyone's favorite activity. It's time for Gambit! I still have that final exotic engram I was saving as well as the powerful for completing the bounties. After I finish, I'm awarded with my final exotic for the week on my Titan. I decide to open it once again knowing it's a risk that I could get an armor piece instead of a weapon. Lucky for me, our luck continues as I get the Graviton Lance, bringing us up to 31 exotics. The next thing that happened was a funny sequence. I was in Crucible trying to get some of my bounties done for the powerful you can get from shacks. While I was in game, my mechanic called so I had the stream on mute and I was on the phone. While that took place, this simultaneously happened. The first world drop of the challenge was none other than the Warcliffe Coil, bringing us up to 32 exotics. This was awesome luck, and an exotic weapon dropping will always be an added bonus.
Let's go. That was really important, guys. That was really important. I don't know if you guys just saw that. I was on the phone with my mechanic. But we just got another weapon.
We concluded day 2 back in Legendary Lost Sector Prison in a fire team, filling in more gaps, slowly but surely getting our power level up. I thought that day 3 would be more of the same, slow and tedious power grinding. However, little did I know, the next chapter of this video will be called Hello, My Old Friend. I start the day with more Legendary Lost Sectors with the fire team as I mentioned before. Exotics weren't dropping, but we were getting some good +0 drops. During one of the runs, a Vex incursion spawned. I hurried to Neomuna, super excited to finally get another exotic as the power grind was really slowing down how many exotics I was getting. I quickly finished the event, but to my confusion, this happened.
Dune Marchers, okay, Dune Marchers. Good old Dune Marchers. The Dune Marchers, the ones I have already.
Somehow, in some way, Another duplicate dropped in a bad luck protected activity. I don't get it. I got the Doom Marchers, the exotic Ikora had already given to us. What was happening? Something happens once, maybe it's a bug or glitch, but twice? This was starting to really get weird. When I collected all 222 obtainable exotics, I did over 50 Vex incursions and didn't see any duplicates really. I was not only confused, but I was feeling super defeated. I tried not to let it slow me down too much. I head back into the Legend Lost sector with the fire team and slowly but surely get my power level up with +0 drops. I hadn't seen an exotic in a while, so I was hoping maybe I'd get lucky soon while farming and get maybe a new exotic to make up for the duplicate. Well, after 24 lost sectors without an exotic drop, here's what happened on the next one. I got a duplicate of the Eternal Warrior. This was painful, solely because I still had a decent amount of exotic armor in my loot pool, so despite this not being a bad luck protected activity, my chances were still pretty high of me not getting a duplicate. I figured if I just kept farming and didn't get discouraged, the next time an exotic dropped, it would be a new one. Well, after one more failed lost sector, RNG had a chance to redeem itself for us. And here's what happened.
Huh?
No way. No, no.
Not only did we get a duplicate exotic when the majority of our exotics we still don't have, but we got the exact same exotic we just got. That's statistically just not supposed to happen. The Eternal Warrior was now eternally laughing at me. I kept up the grind as best I could. Like I said, the main goal was getting my power level up, so really exotics were secondary here. It was just extremely painful seeing all these duplicates. That was now 3 in a row to start the day. I couldn't wait to be a higher power level so that I could do these legendary lost sectors alone and get some bad luck protection. We do another run and I'm losing my mind really fast. And with my sanity on the line, here's what happened. Worm Gods dropped another Ikora exotic that we had obtained earlier. 4 duplicates, and there was nothing I could do besides smile through the pain. I shift gears and do some grinding on my hunter as the Titan bad luck right now is just simply unbearable. By this time our characters are over the 1770 mark, which is good, we just need to keep our foot on the gas. After a few runs, a Vex incursion spawns and I instantly think back to the pain of the last Vex incursion. I have a lot fewer armor exotics on my hunter, so the chances of a duplicate, if it really wasn't a bug, was going to be slim to none, but still, I was extremely worried. After I finished the event, here was my fate.
Here we go. Bow Tracers, that's new, let's go.
We got the Foe Tracers, finally a new exotic, bringing us up to 33 exotics off the list, and officially a third of the way done with the challenge in under 3 full days. We continue grinding to get my hunter's power up, and to our good fortune, another Vex incursion spawns. I decided that if this Vex incursion was a non-duplicate, then I would just declare the earlier nonsense a glitch, as some kind of anomaly maybe. I quickly went to finish the incursion, and here's what happened.
Good.
Aeon Swift's drop, bringing us up to 34 exotics. This put my mind at ease, at least for now, and I decided to just put the earlier Vex incursion weirdness behind me. Our luck continued to turn around as while I was grinding the Legend Lost sectors with the fire team, my hunter was able to pick up another 2 exotics along the way. I got Shinobu's Vow and the Stompies, bringing us up to 36 exotics. While continuing to grind, another 3 Vex incursions spawned throughout the day while I was grinding my hunter's power level. I was able during this time to pick up the Raiden Flux, the extremely strong Celestial Nighthawk, and the Gemini Jesters, bringing us up to 39 exotics. The next exotic on our list was one that was an extremely slow grind as we were getting our power level up by doing weekly bounties, seasonal challenges, and normal bounties. If you didn't know, the current season pass weapon is actually free if you can make it to the season rank 35 on the pass. I had my eyes set on Dragon's Breath for quite a while, and it was finally right there for the taking. We got the last bit of XP that we needed, and then the Dragon's Breath was mine. A fitting 40th exotic. This exotic would also be a beast for the late game of this challenge when we started doing solo Legend Lost sectors. After this, I felt like it was finally time for a decently longer nap. we've been going over 60 hours so far with an only 2-hour nap under our belt. We had streamed all the way through the night for the 3rd time and the sun was already back up, as you can see here, when the RNG god started shining a beam of good luck into our room.
I don't think I've ever seen that in any of my streams. We have to be getting an exotic or something now, right?
After a 6-hour sleep, it was time to get back to it.
Hello, hello, hello. Oh my gosh.
It was almost the end of day 3 by this time, but I wanted to see if we could snag one more quick exotic to finish the day. I had a few exotic engrams from the ritual activities I was grinding when power leveling. I had decided to open up one since we had been getting such good exotic weapon luck. Unfortunately, this ended when we were given the Dragon Shadow, bringing us up to 41 exotics. After this, it was time to raid. Just kidding. It was time for more No, just kidding. It was actually time to raid. For real this time. More specifically, Crota's End, the newest raid brought back into Destiny 2. We weren't yet 1800, but we had broken the 1780 mark, which at least meant that this was doable. As you all knew, it was about time we snagged one of the more difficult exotics on our list, the Necrochasm. This was going to be a serious grind, as we were going to need to complete the Crota's End raid to get the quest, and then do it as many times as necessary in order to get the 20 essences to be able to actually earn the weapon. I get to work and I'm pleased that I'm not getting one shot in the raid. Despite this, it didn't quite feel great. I made sure that every run we were doing was a full run to give ourselves a chance at jackpotting. What is jackpotting, you might ask? Well, Bungie added a feature where if you do a full run, you get a chance at getting all of the essences for the Necrochasm and the Catalyst in just one run. It looks like this.
I got it. I got it.
It's also important to note that doing full clears will be a great way to spoil farm, which is crucial for this challenge because we needed to get the Legend of Acreus from the kiosk. Let me quickly explain how spoils work for those who may be confused, as there's a major reason I did this challenge during this season, as it would have been impossible to do earlier in the year. And that's because you can only spoil farm the most recent raid. That's right. That means when Root of Nightmares was the recent raid, I wouldn't have been able to spoil farm it because it's not free. Because of this, I needed to wait until Crota's End came out, so the most recent raid would be a free raid that I could actually farm. Once you've completed Crota once for the week on a character, every encounter will give you spoils endlessly after that. You can also get spoils from secret chests and other raids, but this is the only raid you can endlessly farm them. Once Final Shape comes, this is going to change to the Witness raid, so I knew I needed to do this challenge before Final Shape dropped. With that explanation out of the way, we get started and do our first full raid clear. We start things off strong, getting an essence on the lamps encounter to kick us off. Unfortunately, we're not met with a jackpot, but we are given another 2 essence, one for our first clear of the week and another for it being a full run, so we're already up to 3 essences in just one run. It sucked we weren't able to jackpot, but luckily we were able to at least pick up the Necrochasm quest. That concluded day 3 with 41 exotics so far. Averaging just about 13 exotics per day so far on a free account honestly isn't awful, especially when we were so laser focused on the power grind. I knew it could have been higher if we didn't deal with the duplicate nonsense, but nonetheless we were getting pretty close to 1780 on my hunter, so I was pretty happy about that. We start off day 4 grinding more lost sectors for +0 drops. I learned something new about Guardian ranks that blew my mind while I was grinding.
No. Huh? No. No. No way, man! It's to help people! There's no way! It's to help people! How are you gonna help a new player if they can't be a new player?
I couldn't believe this. It just feels weird to block so many things if you stray from Guardian ranks. Anyways, after I was satisfied with my grind, we headed back into Crota for more farming. I wanted to keep grinding for Necrochasm and spoils over time without going too hard all at once. We did another full run, and here's how it finished.
GG's and jackpot. 1.
Unfortunately, no jackpot. To make it worse, that was my only essence of the run, so I was only at 4 essences. As a consolation, the drops were at least good for my power level. After this, I took the time to complete my Husk of the Pit step for Necrochasm that requires a ton of hive kills that for some reason don't work inside of the actual raid it's made for. I decide to go to altars and knock it out as quickly as I can. Once completed, it was back into the raid for attempt number 3. We get to Crota again, and it was time to see if 3 was a magic number like they say in Schoolhouse Rock. Here's how the attempt went.
Trolling, I really lost them. I don't know where they are right now. But the good thing is I lost them in the house, like during the subathon. How do I only get one?
Another swing and another miss. But one cool thing was that we were already up to 50 of the 240 spoils casually just running the raid. 20% done already. We were also now up to 6 essences of the 20 we needed to be done with Necrochasm. We ran it back again for run number 4 to see if this could be the run that we would jackpot. Unfortunately, Crota wasn't having it today. Would number 5 change his mind?
Please. Please. This game.
I was convinced at this point that Crota hated me. I did complete quite a few triumphs though, so I was able to claim an additional 3 essences from the triumphs page. Overall, in just one grind session, this was our progress on spoils and on the Necrochasm essences.
90 spoils is where we ended up, and in terms of the quest, ended up at 12. That's not bad.
After all the Crota fails, it was time to do something funny. We had hit our next sub goal, and this time you guys wanted me to order a pizza with everything and anything on it from Domino's. You all ended up deciding on a large extra cheese pizza with garlic parmesan sauce, pepperoni, Italian sausage, bacon, ham, salami, jalapeno peppers, banana peppers, shredded parmesan, pineapples, black olives, and anchovies, which luckily they didn't end up having, but yeah.
I like it.
Honestly, it ended up being pretty good. After this, a Vex Incursion spawned as a way of RNG telling me that it wanted a slice. We ended up getting the lucky raspberry to hopefully bring us some good luck, bringing us up to 42 exotics. After this, it was back to Legend Lost Sectors with the fire team to farm more +0 drops before another Vex Incursion spawned. It seemed like the luck of the lucky raspberry was real, until it wasn't.
Graviton forfeit.
Oh my gosh. I don't understand. These have been the most painful Vex incursions in the history of my exotic challenges. And I don't know what I did to deserve this, guys.
That settled it. Vex Incursions could drop duplicates. But why? Like I said, I had never received any duplicates when I did my collecting every single exotic challenge. What had changed? The only thing that I was doing differently this challenge was not spending money. That couldn't be a factor, could it? For now, I moved on feeling extremely defeated. Luckily for us, we were at least getting extremely good drops from farming these Legend Lost Sectors with the fire team endlessly. We had now officially crossed the 1780 mark, which meant it was officially time for Phase 3 of my leveling plan. What was my leveling plan? Phase 1 was getting New Light done as quickly as possible and doing any and every activity to get to the soft cap of 1750. Phase 2 was to do a combination of my lower tier powerful and pinnacles mixed with filling in the gaps by min-maxing the legendary Lost Sectors with the fire team to get around 1780. And then finally, Phase 3 was to take advantage of something that only comes around a few times a season. Something that I knew would help push us over the edge to 1800. Getting to 1800 in a few days I knew would take careful planning on a free account, so I made sure that I did this challenge during the week of Iron Banner. Iron Banner is a week-long Crucible event held by Lord Saladin, and if we play it, we can get some extremely high pinnacles to drop. Also, we could target min-max in Iron Banner as well by being able to focus old armor sets. I tried to load into Iron Banner, but how do I put this? Well, just watch.
As crazy as that is, like, if I'm not the craziest veteran player, but I know the game. I'm sure you guys would admit that. If I don't even know what to do to spawn this thing, what are new players doing?
I had no idea how to activate the node for Iron Banner. Being a new player is so confusing in this game. As a veteran player, sometimes I feel like I know this game and then I realize that I just don't. After some research, we found out that I needed to complete Shax's quest in order to fly into Iron Banner on my own. With this knowledge, I get to work, and as soon as I do, the Monte Carlo catalyst drops. Honestly, a pretty fun catalyst. After a few more games, another Vex Incursion spawns. I try to contain myself as I know that Vex Incursions have been nothing but cruel to me so far. Despite this, I try to keep a positive attitude and I head over to Neomuna to hopefully claim another exotic for the challenge. Here's how it went.
Just don't be a duplicate. Here we go. Here we go.
Nope.
At this point, I was officially losing my mind. I just couldn't fathom what I was doing wrong. Nothing was adding up. I try to rally as I get back to Iron Banner. It was going pretty well and I had gotten some good drops that had me over 1790, which was awesome. Now it was back to Legend Lost Sectors with the fire team to fill in some missing gaps that we needed. During one of these runs, after the grueling exotic luck that we were having, this happened on our next run.
Finally. Oh my gosh.
Knucklehead Radar drop bringing us up to 43 exotics. When Legend Lost Sectors with the fire team, keep in mind, is being more generous than Vex Incursions, you know there's a problem. We keep up the grind and slowly but surely level up my hunter. Then we run into an interesting crossroads. Another Vex Incursion spawns. Normally my thought process, in case y'all are curious, is to go to the character that has the most exotics already so that I can finish that character as quickly as possible. This is due to the fact that once a character has all of their exotic armor, every single engram that they open up will be guaranteed to be an exotic weapon. However, due to all this Vex Incursion nonsense, I actually decided to do the opposite. I make the switch to my Warlock who has the fewest exotics and the most missing, so that in theory, the chances of us getting a duplicate are slim to none. I get to my Warlock and I roll the dice. Here's what happened.
3, 2, and 1. Sun bracers. Sun bracers. Sun bracers. We'll take it.
Our game of chance, it worked. I got the Sun Bracers bringing us to 44 exotics. After this, I decided it was time to take a quick break to knock out some more of my Crucible bounties in the Relic game mode, which takes forever to matchmake. I wasn't quite ready to get my next exotic engram from the Ritual Activities Pinnacle, so I thought Relic would be a safe way to grind and not have the activities count. Unfortunately, they did count and my exotic pinnacle did drop, which confused me at first. I wasn't quite ready to open another exotic engram as there was still a really high chance of it being exotic armor, but after feeling somewhat behind, I cracked and decided to roll the dice with one more exotic engram. Even if it didn't end up being a weapon, I figured we could rally later. I rolled the dice, and here's how it went. Lucky for us, not only did we get a weapon, but I was really needing an energy weapon for my power grind, so this was a double whammy. We got the Borealis bringing us up to 45 exotics. We were getting so close to the big 50. After that, we wrapped up the Iron Banner grind on my hunter. Next on my list was jumping over to my Warlock and starting this process again of grinding Iron Banner. Before that, I decided to first go to Xur since I knew I could pick up a really strong Warlock exotic while on my hunter that would drop at my hunter's power. This would be a great booster for my Warlock. I pick up the Skull of Dire Ahamkara now that I have plenty of materials from all of the grinding, bringing us up to 46 exotics. Next, I decided to test our luck once again. I snagged our final Hunter Pinnacle exotic engram from doing ritual activities. I knocked out 3 quick strikes as I needed a break from Crucible, and something funny happened that I was hoping would be a sign of good luck. Not only did we get our exotic engram pinnacle, but we got the Outbreak Perfected Catalyst.
Outbreak Perfected Catalyst, I'm done.
The question was whether or not the Outbreak Perfected Catalyst would give us the luck we need to get another exotic weapon to drop here.
Yes! That's a weapon at least.
What do you know? The Catalyst blessed the run and brought us the Crimson, bringing us up to 47 exotics off the list. That completed the grind, at least for now, on my hunter. He was up to 1791, which was really good. It was time to repeat that grind and crack 1800 on my Warlock finally. Once on my Warlock, I transfer over all of my weapons and I get to min-maxing, aka back to the Legend Lost Sector grind with my teammates. Even though my weapons are really high, my armor is still pretty low, so I need to rely on blues and purple drops to slowly get me up. After I got to 1787, I thought that was a pretty good time for a 2-hour nap. I could practically taste the 1800, but I also was pretty much running on fumes. Once I woke up, it was time to get back to it. I got right back on the min-maxing grind in the same Lost Sector. Unfortunately, right when I got into a groove, I kept hitting error codes over and over and over again.
Why do we keep getting error codes?
After battling with the servers, I finally felt like I got to a point where I felt comfortable going back into Iron Banner. I should mention that we kinda got spared. For anyone playing Iron Banner around this time, you're gonna remember what I'm talking about. You see, Bungie decided to introduce a game mode called Iron Banner Tribute. Let's just say this wasn't very positively received. And because of this, it was cancelled. So lucky for us, we didn't have to play through this game mode while grinding. With that being said, we keep up the grind and after 3 games I'm given my first Ritual Exotic Pinnacle engram. Since I had good luck on my hunter, I decided to open this one up in hopes of getting another weapon. I head to Raoul and unfortunately he gives me the Verity's Brow. Another new exotic, so I can't complain, but I was really hoping to carry over the good luck from my hunter. Oh well, it couldn't be helped. 48 exotics down. We get back to the 1800 grind and keep pushing as hard as we can. I had no idea how much we had been grinding until I realized we had unlocked the ritual sword, the Chivalric Fire, which happened to be a great powerful heavy drop for me, by the way. Also, I ended up finally getting to Guardian rank 5, which meant I could finally use armor mods. I quickly hurry into my character menu to equip some resilience mods, or that was the plan.
Why aren't they aligned? So I need to get to an even higher Guardian rank just to be able to upgrade it so then I can actually use the mods that I just unlocked.
Guardian ranks had struck once again and found a new way to laugh at me. Trying not to dwell on this too much, I decided it was time to grind more raids to get closer to Necrochasm and Legend of Acreus. We do a full clear of Crota and speed through it as fast as possible in hopes of getting a jackpot this time. Our Warlock was also getting extremely close to 1800, so these would be great drops that could set him over. When we finally got back to Crota, we took him down as fast as we could, and this is how our 6th completion went.
It just baited me a Dragon's Breath Catalyst. I got one still.
No jackpot, but we were up to 1797 on my Warlock now, which was fantastic. We were also up to 14 essences, which felt great. After this, it was back into Crota for Bungie number 7 jackpot attempt. Unfortunately, Bungie hasn't been on our side for this challenge, so as expected, we didn't get a jackpot. This run we also did an all Warlock run, so we were able to get an extra essence from the Triumph. After this, I took a break from Crota, but this was our progress after all of the runs we had did so far.
For all being Warlocks, so that has me at 120 spoils, which is half. I need 240 for Acreus. 18. I'm like one more away. I'll knock it out tomorrow.
I was pretty pleased with this, and that's how our day 4 ended. We had capped out at just shy of 50 exotics at 48. As we continued to climb through our power grind, I could taste 1800, and I knew that day 5 would be my day. I continued pushing through Iron Banner, getting some really good pinnacles and doing some really nice min-maxing using the old gear I could get from the Iron Banner engrams. I won't bore you too much with day 5 because most of it was really just spent grinding Iron Banner match after Iron Banner match after Iron Banner match after Iron Banner match after oh my gosh! After I finished Iron Banner and lost most of my sanity, we were getting extremely close. I decided that we would knock out our powerful we could get from completing 8 bounties for Zavala. It was one of the final things I was really needing to set me over the edge. But when I loaded up Vanguard Ops, this happened. I kept running into a glitch that was trying everything in its power to convince me that I needed Witch Queen to do Vanguard Ops when I obviously don't. This is a good time to talk about all the things that I couldn't do during the challenge due to not having money. I couldn't do the Nightfall Pinnacle as it was Birthplace of the Vile, which required Witch Queen's DLC. The Pinnacle raid was Deepstone Crypt, so that was out of the question because I didn't have Beyond Light. The rotating dungeon was Spire of the Watcher, which I didn't have the dungeon key for. Also, the most recent dungeon pinnacle was out of the question too since it was Warlord's Ruin. I couldn't do Grandmasters as they weren't out yet, funny enough, but even if they were, it also would have required Witch Queen this week. I couldn't do Trials of Osiris without the current DLC being Lightfall. I couldn't do the Exotic Rotator mission as each exotic is tied to its respective DLC. And I couldn't do the seasonal activity powerfuls because I don't have the season pass. And that goes for the Star-Crossed Exotic Mission 2, which wasn't even out yet at the time. With that explanation out of the way, I finished the bounties that I needed in Vanguard Ops by having someone fly me into the playlist. Once I finished the bounties, all that was left was heading to Zavala and seeing if he had the powerful I needed to be 1800. Let's see if today was gonna be my day.
1 boots. Arms, we'll take it. That's a GG. That's 1800. Oh, I'm almost scared to click it just because I'm so happy and so exhausted from it. Oh my.
Finally, after 5 days of slow and methodical power grinding, I was 1800 in 5 days without spending a cent starting from 1600. I felt really good about this and felt like a weight was off my shoulders. A lot of exotics were now very obtainable now that I broke this barrier. Not only would Legend Lost sectors that are 1830 finally be doable solo, but now I could also tackle Crota's End comfortably as well. Now that I was 1800, it was go time. But before then, I wanted to get to Guardian rank 6 so I could finally use armor mods. I knew that having resilience mods would really make my life a lot easier, and it also couldn't help to have some surge mods when going back into Crota. I started upgrading my gear, and as I went to put on some surge mods, this is what happened.
Only 1 sniper, yeah.
Psych!
Why is there something I'm learning each time? Surges. Surges is 7. Alright.
Really? I can't use armor surges? Bungie, why? Every step I take, Guardian ranks is there to point and laugh at me. Guardian Ranks is just so overly restrictive when doing these challenges. No matter, nothing can take my joy away from not needing to power grind anymore. Before I went back into the raid, I wanted to start off by snagging every remaining chest armor exotic piece that I was missing. Today was the Bay of Drowned Wishes, and it was the chest piece heroic legend lost sector that I could finally do solo. I get all of my weapons, gear, and mods in order, and then I get started. The MVP of this lost sector, and honestly all of my legend lost sectors solo, ends up being the Dragon's Breath. This thing is a beast with Overload Rocket, and I'm grateful that it was free this season. I finished the first lost sector and opened the chest hoping to start things off with a bang. Unfortunately, no luck. Luckily on the second lost sector, we were able to get our first legend lost sector exotic solo, getting the Vesper Radius, bringing us up to 49 exotics. After that attempt, we ran it back and unfortunately didn't have any luck, but on our very next attempt, we were able to get the Wings of Sacred Dawn, bringing us up to the big 50 mark and officially crossing the halfway mark of this challenge. I knew I still had a long way to go, but being over 50% of the way done with this challenge felt really good, and I felt motivated too. After 2 more fails, I was able to pick up our final Warlock exotic chest piece, the Sanguine Alchemy, bringing us up to the 51 exotic mark. It's important to note that at this point we had ruled out Forsaken Armor exotics from being able to drop from engrams or lost sectors. It seemed that the only way to get Forsaken Armor exotics for free was from Ikora herself. Being now over 50 exotics, if one was gonna drop, it would have dropped by now. It's also important to note that I got those 3 Warlock chest pieces in 7 attempts, or at a 42.85% drop rate. I'd say that's extremely good and fitting for the RNG my Warlock usually gets. After this, I headed to Zur as he owed me something after all of those Iron Banner matches and strikes that I had been doing over the last few days. I headed over to him and demanded he give me my exotic cipher, which he gave me after I asked nicely. Once I had this, it was time to switch over to my good old Titan. I still had 3 more chest pieces I needed to grab before the reset. I got to work, and on my 3rd attempt, I was able to get the Crest of Alpha Lupi, bringing us up to 52 exotics. Following this, I had a drought where I failed 4 times in a row before finally getting the Hallowfire Heart, bringing us up to 53 exotics. I failed again on my next run, but after that, I was able to snag my final chest piece exotic for my Titan, the Armentarium, one that I really enjoy using. 54 exotics off the list. Funny enough, through Vex Incursions and Engrams, I already had all of my Hunter chest pieces, so this concluded our lost sectors for the day. Overall, my Titan was able to get all of his chest pieces in 3 out of 10 runs, or at a 30% drop rate. After this, it was time to get into the fun stuff. The really fun stuff. It was time to do something super fun. Just kidding. It was time for more New Light! Luckily, this time I only needed to go through the campaign once on this account, since I didn't need to do the Ikora quests again. Finishing out the New Light campaign also concluded our day 5 at 54 exotics. I had wished I was a little bit further, but the highlight of today was definitely reaching the 1800 mark. Once I was done with New Light, it was time to grind to Guardian Rank 3 so that I'd have access to the New Light exotic cipher. I knock out my Nessus, EDZ, and Neomuna chores, and I head back to Zavala to increase my Guardian rank. Once I do, I claim the triumphs that I need to get my exotic cipher from New Light. Even though I have the cipher, I can't yet afford to buy any exotics with it. The next thing I do is head to Zur on the Winding Cove to pick up my 2nd Xenology quest of the challenge. After this, I get to work on it. I think it's time that I mention how this quest actually works. It requires you to do 21 ritual activities, meaning strikes, crucible winds, or gambit. You can double the amount of points you get if you do this with a clan, meaning I could cut this down to 11 activities. This is exactly what I do when I bring back the CB Subathon clan from the last exotic challenge. I get to work on the quest, and I was really happy to see an exotic drop for me out of the strike. Here's what I got.
Wait, what is that? Is that like bait? That's bait, right? Aw, it's bait. It's bait.
Yeah, unfortunately I just got the other side, the OG Rat King Sparrow. No matter, I got back on the grind and I had another drop that surely had to be an exotic this time.
It happened again. What's this time? What's that one? That's probably just like Glimmer, right? Watch me pick it up. I think it's Glimmer. How this one goes. Literally, and there's an engram that's just a lot of Glimmer. And it looks like that. Weirdly enough, I know every trick in the book now.
Yep, classic Glimmer engram. I've been doing these challenges for so long that drops like these don't even faze me anymore. I get back to work, and after a grueling 11 strikes and a ton more battlegrounds that I had to keep exiting out of, I was able to get my 2nd Xenology quest done. I now had 2 exotic ciphers on this account. I head back to Orbit, and funny enough, I get my first dungeon key pop-up of the challenge asking me to purchase the dungeon key to play Ghost of the Deep. Bungie, I'm not gonna crack. I jump into Dares of Eternity so that we can unlock heroic dares in order to get the golf balls that we need to purchase the 2 exotics on this account. After we complete the normal dares, we jump straight into heroic dares. Not without Bungie reminding us to buy the 30th anniversary, of course. Once in, we try to get it done as quickly as possible. Truth be told, I'm exhausted and just need RNG to work with me. Luckily, on my first heroic dares, I was rewarded with an Ascendant Shard for our efforts, 1 golf ball down. With that and some Glimmer that I picked up from Raul in the Season Pass, I had enough to purchase my first Cypher exotic on this account. A pretty good one too. The Sleeper Simulant, bringing us up to 55 exotics. After this, I dive back into heroic dares, and unfortunately, my second attempt doesn't bear any fruit and I didn't get a golf ball. A Vex Incursion spawned after this, which was pretty welcome since we hadn't had one in over 24 hours due to the terminal overload overlap. I jump back to my first account and load in on my Warlock as he's missing the most exotics of all my characters. I pray to the RNG gods, and this is what happened.
And 1. What's the point? What's the point? I genuinely do not understand. I'm the only person probably arguably ever to sit in one sitting and collect every exotic in this game in one sitting. It took 16 days, as you guys know. In that, I did over 100 Vex Incursions. Over 100. And I only got 1 duplicate in over 100. So how is it now that I'm doing the free version of this challenge where I'm not spending any money, have I gotten 7 duplicates in under 20 Vex Incursions? Whatever it is, it's a problem.
I think I said everything that I could possibly say there. I didn't want to think cynically, but why didn't this happen when I was giving Bungie money? I had 0 issues until I decided to do a free challenge. I tried not to have this mindset, but the thoughts were becoming intrusive. Despite this, I tried to keep it together and I headed back to my second account as we still had 1 more golf ball we needed to get. Truthfully, I was feeling super defeated after not only not getting my second golf ball, but then dealing with this Vex Incursion nonsense. We dive back into heroic dares, which becomes a lightning round. This surely had to be a good sign. When we finished it up, Zur awarded us with the golf ball that we were seeking. After this, I headed back to the tower where the exotic monument was waiting for me. The legendary weapons that I got from dares I was able to dismantle, and then I used the shards at Raul to get more Glimmer that I was needing. I decided this time to pick up the old school speedrunning GOAT weapon, the Worldline Zero, bringing us up to 56 exotics in the challenge. Exhausted, I felt like this was a good time to take a small power nap. After 3 hours, I was ready to get back to it. After waking up, I did what any normal person would do after getting some rest. Eating breakfast, New Light! I can't escape. Funny enough, before I can even finish the first mission, a Vex Incursion spawns. Being honest, I didn't have high hopes, but I headed over to my first account and flew into Neomuna on my Warlock. After finishing the event, here's what happened.
They're new, guys. They're new.
To my shock, we got a new exotic, the Lunafaction boots from a Vex Incursion, which shouldn't have been shocking, but after everything I had pretty much lost faith. 57 exotics off the list. After this, I head back to my third account where I continue New Light. I get to the second mission, the Cold Boot, and ironically a second Vex Incursion spawns, so I finish it up and head to Neomuna on my Warlock again. Now before we go any further, I want you to close your eyes and envision a sight that makes you sad. Now open your eyes. I'll give you guys an exclusive look of what I saw when I closed my eyes.
No duplicate.
I just can't with these Vex Incursions. They've literally been the biggest letdown of this challenge. I tried to rally and I did my best to power through Lightfall on my third account, followed by suffering through my chores to get to Guardian rank 3. Once I was there, I was trying to claim my exotic Cypher, but I was having some really weird issues. I couldn't unlock the Triumph to get my Cypher. Literally nothing was going right at this point, and I couldn't figure out why. I tried not to let it get to me, and I figured I'd just pick up my Xenology quest from Zur and try to figure it out later. My day 6 unfortunately ended on this note, but surely the next 24 hours would be kinder to us. In 6 days, we had 57 exotics, which was just shy of 10 exotics per day average. For an added stat, we had 6 exotic duplicates from Vex Incursions as well, which meant that we really should have had 63 exotics. I got to work on the Xenology quest by knocking out strikes as quickly as I could. While I was doing the strikes, I was annoyed that I couldn't figure out what was going wrong with the New Light Cypher. Even though I didn't want to let it get to me, it definitely was. While I tried to scour my brain and the internet for what had gone wrong, I was met with a Vex incursion that I hurried back to my first account to take advantage of. I went back to my Warlock, as you could have guessed, to minimize the chances of a duplicate. Luckily, the game showed mercy on me as I was able to get the transverse of steps, bringing me up to 58 exotics. After this, I got back on the Vanguard Ops grind, aka the Battleground playlist. Finally, after more than 5 strikes, I figured out what was wrong.
If you've ever collected a single exotic, you get this for free. That's what it is. I think I know what happened. Vex incursion happened right when I was going to Maeve's Key. I don't think I ever picked up Maeve's Key, so I don't have Tractor Cannon. We Vex incursioned right when I was supposed to get Tractor Cannon.
To get that secret triumph, you need to collect 1 exotic. Just 1. And usually that exotic is the Tractor Cannon when we get Maeve's Key. But on this account, right when I was about to open Maeve's Key, a Vex incursion spawned. And after I did it, I went right back to the account and continued on with the New Light campaign without ever going back and retrieving the exotic. Even though this cost me some time, I was glad that it was my own mistake and not a bug. After the strike, I went back to the Cosmodrome to pick up the Tractor Cannon, and sure enough, the Triumph was there waiting for me to collect right after this. After this, I grinded out the rest of my strikes to receive my second exotic cipher on this account. I won't bore you with what's next because I'm sure you can guess it. Normal dares, followed by a heroic dares. I grinded to get heroic dares done until I got my 2 golf balls. It took absolutely forever to get the golf balls to drop this time, which was super frustrating. After I got them both, it was time to head back to the exotic monument to pick up my next 2 exotics. Before that, I decided to do something that I haven't talked about at all yet. I decided to open up a Dares of Eternity Xur box. These have a small chance of granting you an exotic. I had done a few here and there earlier in the challenge, but I hadn't mentioned them yet because I declared they were useless during the All Exotic challenge. In that challenge, I opened up almost 30 Xur boxes and didn't even get 1 exotic, so I decided not to focus on these during this challenge as they had wasted enough of my time on the last challenge. Because of this, I didn't grind any additional strange coins, but with my bad golf ball luck, I found myself able to buy one. When I opened that Xur box up, this is what ended up happening.
This will be the first one. In 3, 2, and 1.
I actually got an exotic. I couldn't believe it. After 30 fails in my previous challenge, I just casually opened one up after a few tries. After this, I sped back to the tower as fast as I could to take the Ingram de Raoul. I opened it up, and here's what I got.
2, and 1. It's a dupe.
Unfortunately, I got a duplicate Crest of Alpha Loopy, but I wasn't really tripping over this. I was on a brand new account and I already had over 60 exotics on my first account, so getting a duplicate was highly likely. This account was mainly just for ciphers and raid exotics anyways. I just found it pretty cool that I was able to get an exotic in the Xur box. Not wasting any more time, I headed back over to the exotic monument. When I got there, I changed my mind and decided to pick up my favorite weapon, the Whisper of the Worm, that cost 2 Ascendant Shards instead of 1. This meant that I'd have to grind for another golf ball, but I figured it was better to knock out the more expensive Cypher exotics first. 59 exotics down. You may be wondering why, as we still had 1 more Kiosk Exotic to get on this account. Well, I unfortunately had made another huge miscalculation. Once again, I didn't realize there was maintenance coming that was going to be taking the game offline. This time for 3 hours until the weekly reset. That time was quickly approaching and I had a lot of Lost Sector exotics that I still needed to obtain before it did. I get to work as quickly as possible. This time the Legend Lost Sector was the Chamber of Starlight and the exotic was the helmet. I was already done with my Titan helmets, but I had quite a few that I still needed to get on my Warlock and Hunter. This Lost Sector proved to be brutal for me despite me being at 1800 and relying on Dragon's Breath as much as I could. Despite this, after just my first attempt, I was able to get the Apotheosis Veil, bringing us up to the big 60 exotics. This had to be good luck, right? I definitely believed that after this happened on the very next run.
I'm glad it's Crimson Catalyst, bro, really?
Clearly, RNG was showing us that it was going to be on our side during this Lost Sector. We followed the Crimson Catalyst with 3 failed attempts, which made me start to get nervous, but on the next run, I was able to get the Eye of Another World, getting us up to 61 exotics. After this, a Vex Incursion spawned, which seemed like a great sign, so I headed over to Neomuna as I was already on my Warlock. I prayed for the good luck to continue, and not only did the good luck not continue, but the game continued to test my limits, giving me an exotic that I literally got 30 minutes ago. Bungie, why? This is when things took a turn for the worst. The Lost Sector started to absolutely destroy me. I just can't stress enough how hard this is on a new character. I was completing runs, but they were extremely slow. On top of this, I failed the next 6 Lost Sectors in a row. Overall, we went 2 for 11 on Warlock drops, or 18.182%, which was absolutely soul-crushing. I was still missing 2 Warlock helmets and 1 Hunter helmet, but we had to stop for something else that was extremely urgent before maintenance. I hadn't done my 3 Ritual Exotic Pinnacles for my Warlock, and I was going to miss out on 3 crucial engrams I needed to save to get exotic weapons in the late game. I rushed as fast as I could to get through these. Big shout out to everyone in the community who runs these activities with me during these challenges. While we were running these strikes, this kind of caught me off guard.
I'm actually confused because I don't have one more strike? I don't even know what that is. I'm gonna keep it real. I have one more strike. What is that? Is it a sparrow? Yeah, it's the other side. That's what I thought. That's what I figured. Okay.
I had assumed since I already got the other side sparrow I wouldn't get it again, but I forgot that that was on my 3rd account. This was just the start of the madness as a Vex incursion spawned right after. Since I had already gotten a million duplicates on each character, I deemed it didn't matter what character I was on since I was getting unlucky no matter what. I decided to stay on my Titan this run even though I was missing less exotics. And well, this happened.
Please, please don't be a duplicate. Just don't be a duplicate. Don't be a duplicate. Don't be a duplicate, please. This game is just so pointless.
I was officially done with Vex incursions. Something I loved, something that I praised Bungie for, now I despised. I just didn't get it. Why weren't they working? Were they stealth changed? Does Bungie hate free-to-play players? What was the deal? This was it for me, and I was completely over it. I get back to my Warlock and continue grinding my exotic engrams. This was taking longer than it should have because I was getting extremely unlucky with Battlegrounds, but what's new? After this, to try to torment me, once again a Vex incursion spawns. What I do here may surprise you. I didn't hop on my Titan on this account. I didn't hop on my Warlock. I didn't even hop on my Hunter. I logged off the game. Did I rage quit? No. But I did do something I've never done before in the history of my challenges. I logged back into my main OG account. Why, you might ask? Well, I had every single Warlock exotic besides 1 on my main account. I was only missing the Briar Binds. This was my declaration. If there truly was no bad luck protection, then I should not get Briar Binds. I only would have a 1 in 40 chance of getting it if there was truly no bad luck protection. However, if I do get Briar Binds, then there's 100% without a doubt bad luck protection. What was the only difference? My account that I'm using during the challenge is free to play, and my OG account has given Bungie hundreds and hundreds of dollars. If I was to get Briar Binds, officially 1000% confirmed Bungie locked bad luck protection behind a paywall, which would be unprecedented. It was time to put it all to the test. Here's what happened.
2, 1.
I Alt F4'd instantly. I couldn't believe it. Good luck is paywalled. I had seen it all. Funny enough, Cheese Forever had made a video on this 3 months ago, but no one talks about this. Best believe I'll be doing anything in my power to help raise awareness on this because in my opinion, this is ridiculous. After this, I tried to rally as best as I could as the offline maintenance was still approaching really quick and I had a lot of strikes I had to finish. Once I completed them, the final exotic engram for my Warlock was mine. As I mentioned, I was going to be saving all of these exotic engrams, so it was now time to rush back over to my first account to get back into the legendary Lost Sector so I could hopefully get some more attempts in. In true fashion, and you can't even make it up, another Vex incursion spawned right when I got back to my first account, and I wasn't even excited for it. If it dropped something new, great, but if not, oh well. Here's what happened.
It's not a duplicate. That's funny. Winner's Guile. No duplicate. Imagine that.
We actually got a new exotic, the Winner's Guile, bringing us up to 62 exotics. I was still fed up with the Vex incursions, but at least it was something new. After the strike grinding and the surge of Vex incursions, it was time to rush back into the Lost Sector with the tiny little bit of time we had remaining. Would I get another exotic? Well, here was our fate when I tried our first attempt.
Never mind.
Huh?
Oh. Oh.
Alright.
The biggest lesson that I've learned during this challenge outside of Vex incursions being an absolute waste of time is that I need to check the TWABs to know if maintenance is going to be happening when I'm doing these challenges. This was absolutely soul crushing, twice now. After this, all I could do is sit and wait for 3 hours for the reset to come. And this wasn't just going to be any normal weekly reset. This was going to be the weekly reset that brought us the dawning. I took a quick shower during this period, and once the servers came back on, I headed back into the game. The dawning didn't have too much that could benefit new players on their exotic grind, so I got right back to work. I miss dawning exotics like the Nova Mortis. With another reset came a new Lost Sector to farm, this time being the Paradition on Europa that was offering exotic boots. I still needed quite a few, so this was really ideal for me. I got right to work and I got the MK44 stand-asides on my first try, bringing us up to 63 exotics. After this, we had 2 fails in a row, followed by 2 successes in a row where I got the Lion Rampants, one of my favorite exotics, and the Peacekeepers, bringing us up to 65 exotics. This completed my Titan exotics, with us getting 3 exotics in 5 attempts, or a 60% drop rate. This was our first major milestone of the challenge too. We officially completed one of our characters' full set of armor. This felt amazing, and it meant something very important that I'll explain to you. It meant that now every single exotic engram that I open up on my Titan was guaranteed to be an exotic weapon as long as I'm still missing weapons. This is how you target farm exotic weapons in the game. Complete your armor first, and then all of your engrams will be guaranteed to be weapons. It was time to put this to the test. I conveniently had my level 45 Season Pass exotic ready to be opened. And here's what happened when I opened it.
3, 2, 1, weapon. Good. All right, our plan is working. Our target farming is working. It's working. There we go.
And that, my friends, is an example of how you can exotic weapon target farm in this game. We got the Huckleberry, bringing us up to 66 exotics and officially putting us at the 2/3 mark of this challenge. Now that I was Guardian rank 6, it's also important to note that I could now buy golf balls from Raul, which felt especially great with all of the mats I had gotten from Fireteam Lost Sector farming. After that shopping spree, it was time to pick up another Cypher exotic, this time on my first account. I never spent my Xenology Cypher that I completed from doing Iron Banner, so it was finally time to do that. I bought the Polaris Lance, bringing us up to 67 exotics. After this, I grinded tirelessly to get another exotic Cypher we had coming up, the level 55 Season Pass exotic Cypher. This was gonna be a brutal grind, but luckily, since it was the weekly reset, we now had new seasonal challenges and new weekly bounties that we could do. I continued to grind as hard as I could, as I knew even after we got that exotic Cypher, there'd be another exotic engram that we'd need even deeper on the Season Pass. I decided to do my first Ritual Exotic Pinnacle and Gambit to knock out challenges as well as bounties as well. On my final Gambit game, this is what happened.
And that's it. Opposing team took out their prize.
Alright, there's our exotic. Alright, go open that up. We got a memento too. Oh, we got both. That's pretty cool.
Not only did my exotic Pinnacle drop, but a Gambit Memento drop too. I never get these on my main account, but I always get them when I do these challenges. After this, it was time to go back to Raul, as we could safely open up this engram with 100% confidence that this would be an exotic weapon since we were still on my Titan. Ironically, we got the Fighting Lion from Gambit, which is funny for anyone who remembers the All Exotic Challenge Fighting Lion clip.
Yes! No way!
68 exotics down. That concluded our day 7. Officially a week at came and gone in the challenge. We were just shy of 70 exotics at this point, which wasn't our original goal of finishing the challenge, but my new goal was to complete this challenge in single-digit days, so that meant that we needed to finish this before 10 full days or 240 hours. Also, I can't say enough how much I appreciate you guys keeping the stream going for an entire week at this point. Thank you. Day 8 began how day 7 ended. More ritual activity farming to get my ritual exotic pinnacles while I grind XP. After 3 more activities, I got my second exotic engram for the week. I headed back to Raoul to open up my engram and I was given the OG Revelry weapon, the Arbalest, bringing us up to 69 exotics. Nice. After this, it was time to finish something that we had been grinding throughout the challenge, the Necrochasm. We were 1 run away from completing the quest, so I was excited to get to it. We ran through it as fast as we could and we were able to complete the final step, which meant that all that was between me and the Necrochasm was 1 final Crota checkpoint clear. I loaded into Crota and I told him that he had something that belonged to us. After he went down, he gave us what we were after.
So I'm already done. No, I didn't give a... Here it is, though. Here it is, to the postmaster. Some things never change.
The Necrochasm, bringing us up to 70 exotics off the list. It's also important to note that through this grind, I was already up to 145 of the 240 spoils that I would need to get the Legend of Acreus. Back on the topic of Necrochasm though, every great exotic weapon always has a great exotic catalyst. I mean, pop-up.
Hey, look, it's telling me to buy. New ornament available, Corrupted Logic. Congratulations on discovering it. Now purchase it. No, this is the $0 account.
Bungie, I'm not gonna falter. Unless maybe it's bad luck protection on Vex incursions, then maybe I may. After this, it was on to Vault of Glass. We got the secret chests along the way for extra spoils, as I knew Legend of Acreus still required a decent amount of spoil grinding. Once we got to Atheon, I was hoping that we would get the Vex Mythoclast in the first 3 tries. Here's how the first run went. After this, a Vex incursion spawned and I decided to try a new theory.
We're gonna go to my Warlock. We're not gonna pick it up. We're gonna let it go to the vault, and then we're gonna see what happens.
If you didn't follow that, I planned to jump on my Warlock and not pick up the Vex incursion exotic, and instead let it go to the Postmaster to see if maybe that would somehow add the bad luck protection back. Would this new method bear us any fruit? Well, just watch.
1. Just leaving this game. This game is not cool. This game is not cool. This game is
Yeah, there was no hope at this point. Moving on, it's time to get back to Vault of Glass. Would I get it in the next 2 tries? Let's find out.
Alright guys, manifest. Fun game. Alright, and we're off.
3 fails on Vogue definitely hurt, but I was assuming that we'd be able to rally later and get it. For now, it was on to King's Fall to see if Touch of Malice would be any nicer. On the way, I once again made sure to pick up all my spoils from the secret chests. Once we made it to Oryx, it was time to see if Touch of Malice would show itself.
Alright, number 1 is a fail. Nope. Last one. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Unfortunately, Touch of Malice was not nice to us, but surely my RNG would turn around later in the challenge. Surely. Funny enough, on the last Touch of Malice run, a Vex incursion spawned, so we hurried over to Neomuna right after we finished the run.
Nope.
Expecting a duplicate, I was pleasantly surprised to get a new Warlock exotic, the Ophidian Aspects, bringing us up to 71 exotics. Also funny enough, we got the Fighting Lion Catalyst, but I never saw it drop. We ended up concluding after going back in the footage that this had to have dropped from one of the Minotaurs we pushed off the cliff during the Gatekeeper challenge, as we checked every other enemy that I killed in the footage. After this, it was back to the Paradisian Lost Sector, as we needed to take advantage of this before the reset. We dive into the first Lost Sector in my Hunter, and I'm pleased to get the Frosties, bringing us up to 72 exotics. After another fail, the RNG gods blessed us with the Lucky Pants, bringing us up to 73 exotics. Would they be lucky for us? Well, we failed the next 2, but then we were able to get the Orpheus Rigs, bringing us up to 74 exotics. That concluded our Hunter boots. We got 3 exotics in 6 attempts, or a 50% drop rate, which was pretty good. As we were on the run where the Orpheus Rig dropped, another Vex incursion spawned. Would it be a new exotic? Let's find out. Nope. Just another dupe. It's a good thing we're not trying to complete a challenge or anything. Funny enough, right after this, a second Vex incursion spawned before I could do anything else. I'll spare you the suspense though, because I got another duplicate Apotheosis Veil. I was officially past just getting duplicates. Now I was getting duplicates of duplicates. What could be better? After this, I grinded to get my third Ritual Exotic Pinnacle on my Titan, as it was another guaranteed weapon now that we could target farm exotic weapons on my Titan. After I had the engram, all that was left was taking it to Raoul and claiming my exotic weapon. It ended up being the Skyburner's Oath, bringing us up to the 75 exotic mark, more than 3/4 of the way done with this challenge. The Vex Incursions didn't stop pouring in as another one spawned after this. Let's spin the Vex Incursion roulette and see.
One. Just another dupe. Just another dupe. We tried.
Of course we got a duplicate. Wouldn't expect anything less. It would get worse than this, but let's talk about something good first to break up the sadness. We jump back to my third account where we only picked up one Cypher exotic, which ended up being the Whisper of the Worm. We grinded to get one more Ascendant Shard from Legendary Dares. Once we did, it was back to the exotic kiosk where we were able to pick up the good old Rat King, bringing us up to 76 exotics off the list. After this, we got another Vex Incursion to spawn. I'm gonna give you guys a test after watching 76 of the exotics drop of the 99 of this challenge. From this Vex Incursion, did we A, get a new exotic, B, get a duplicate exotic, or C, get a duplicate of the last duplicate that we just got from a Vex Incursion? Let's find out.
And Wormhusk. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Just absolutely not. I just got that.
If you chose C, great job, you're correct. This just statistically doesn't even make sense, but Vex Incursions were dead to me, so it's fine. Funny enough, the despair wasn't even done, but let's come back to it later. After this, I took a nap until reset as I couldn't bear the pain anymore. Once I woke up, it was the daily reset, which meant a new lost sector in the rotation. This time it was exotic arms on the Bunker E15 in Europa, meaning that we can make a really good dent in our armor exotics. After 2 failed attempts, we strike gold and get the Claws of Ahamkara, bringing us up to the Bungie number 77 exotics. The next 2 attempts I failed, but on the second fail, I was pleased to see this happen.
Oh, I talked about it finally. Yes, 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 yes. World drop. Yes, finally we got a world drop.
This world drop would be huge when it would come to getting our remaining exotic weapons late in the challenge. I was carefully spreadsheeting each exotic engram I had remaining or left to earn and paired them with the remaining exotic weapons I had left. After this world drop, I was feeling really good about the next lost sector, and sure enough, the Karnstein armlets dropped, bringing us up to 78 exotics. Wanting to keep the momentum going, I jumped right back into the lost sector. Unfortunately, the next 2 runs were fails, but after that I was blessed with the Aeon Souls, finishing off our Warlock arms and getting us up to 79 exotics. Overall, my Warlock got 3 exotics and 9 tries in this lost sector, or had a drop rate of 33.3%, which wasn't great, but we had definitely seen worse. Moving on, we jumped right onto my Hunter, who ended up having some pretty good luck to start things off. We ended up getting the Mechaneer's Trick Sleeves, bringing us up to the big 80 exotics. That unfortunately concluded our day. I completely hated Vex Incursions by this point and never wanted to hear them named again. At least we were up to 80 exotics, which was nice. We needed to get the remaining 19 exotics in under 48 hours if we wanted to achieve our goal of doing this in under 10 full days. We keep the grind going to start day 9 with more lost sectors, as we still need one more pair of Hunter gauntlets. After our first attempt, I was pleased to be given the sealed Ahamkara's Grasp, bringing us up to 81 exotics. Overall, we went 2 for 7 on gauntlets, or a 28.57% drop rate, which honestly was not great. After this, I stayed on my Hunter and started knocking out more weekly bounties to get as much XP as I could for my next season pass exotic. I would just need one more after this to have everything fully accounted for. I decided to do the Dares of Eternity weekly bounties. They can be a little tough, but I got them done without much difficulty. One nice thing about them is they're a great source of strange coins and Xur boxes. Funny enough, speaking of Xur boxes, I decided to open up 2 on my Hunter, and here's what happened.
2 strange coins is actually good. That's a good prize. That's a good prize. I can live with that. I can live with the 2. Strange coins is good. Strange coins is good. And
This challenge was going totally different than the non-free exotic challenge. I couldn't believe it. This was going to be huge as I could save this engram until I finished all of my hunter exotics so I could guarantee this being an exotic weapon. After this, I continued on doing as many of the weekly bounties as I could as we were getting so close. As I finished another legendary dares and completed another bounty, we had something really funny happen.
From beyond the stars.
Is that a catalyst?
Thank you for joining us tonight.
I don't think I could be anything else, right?
Games of eternity.
I think it has to be a catalyst, I think. Or is it? I would assume so. Let's see, it's Borealis'.
After this is where things got extremely weird. I saw something that I had never really seen before. Ever.
Not only did I guess it, but there's two of them. I have two of them. Yeah, two catalysts, just like that. World's first. World's first to have two of them.
Not only did I guess the catalyst, but somehow I got it twice? In all of the Destiny I've played, I've never seen anything like this. After this, we got back to the weekly dares bounty grind as we were getting so close to our final season pass exotic that we needed for the challenge, as crazy as it sounds. With a bit more grinding, we were able to finish another weekly bounty which set us over the edge and unlocked our next seasonal exotic. 65 painful levels in just over 8 days. Upon getting to this rank, it was time to go back to my spreadsheet to make sure I had every single exotic weapon accounted for. We only needed one more exotic engram before I could safely unlock every single exotic weapon. We would figure out where to get this exotic engram later, but for now, it was time for more. Don't say it. Please don't say it.
New Light!
Unfortunately, we still had 2 more exotics to get from the kiosk that weren't Legend of Acreus, so we needed to push through New Light again. I got to New Light followed by grinding the level 3 and Guardian ranks to pick up my first exotic cipher on this account. After this, it was time for more Dares of Eternity followed by legendary dares to get another golf ball. I'd prayed that I'd get lucky on my first try. Well, for once in this challenge, not only was my prayer answered, but it was more than answered.
Thank you. Oh, I got 2. Oh my gosh. 2 for the price of 1, it said.
I got 2 golf balls, which meant no more legendary dares for this character. I rushed back to the tower and headed to the kiosk where I picked up the Mida multi-tool, bringing us up to 82 exotics. Right as this dropped, it was right back to my first account as a Vex Incursion spawned and I headed to Neomuna on my Warlock. You all know where I stand with Vex Incursions at this point, so I'll spare you all. Verity's brow dropped, bringing us up to 17 duplicates just on Vex Incursions alone. We could have saved well over a day in this challenge just if everything cooperated. After this, it was unfortunately back to New Light on my 5th account of the challenge as I couldn't pick up a Xenology on this account because Xur wasn't here yet. I wasn't tripping as I figured if my RNG was bad I would probably need extra accounts anyways when attempting raid exotics. I get to work on it and I'll skip you the parts that you know at this point. New Light, followed by Guardian ranks, followed by Legendary Dares, followed by heading back to the tower. Once all of this was done, the Sturm was mine, bringing us up to 83 exotics. I could now taste getting out of exotic cipher jail. We still had Acreus to do, but we had the cipher for it already and now all we needed was the remaining spoils to get it done before our soul could finally be freed. We hopped back onto my first account and grinded more Crotas. We were getting super close and the finish line was near, so I decided that Crota checkpoints would be the most optimal thing to do here. After a ruthless grind over the course of a week, on our 7th checkpoint run of the day, we finally had the remaining spoils that we needed to get to the 240 spoil mark. After this, I headed back to the tower to finally be freed from spoil prison. I go to the kiosk and it feels good to finally be able to buy my beloved Legend of Acreus, getting us to 84 exotics off the list.
Let's go. Thanks, guys. Oh, finally, no more ciphers. I hate ciphers so much.
With that, all of the Red War Kiosk exotics were ours. You would think that the rest of this challenge would just be celebration from now. A lot of smiles, and maybe some champagne. But the next chapter of this video is called Champagne, without the sham. Next on our list was getting Touch of Malice, and all that stood in between us was Oryx. And the SMS verification? That's right, I could no longer verify accounts with my phone number as I've done it too many times throughout these challenges. Unfortunately, when playing free raids, you have to have your account verified. I had to do something here that might surprise you guys. I called my mom, I called my dad, I called my brother, and I called a bunch of my other friends to start helping me verify accounts throughout this challenge.
Because you know, like how I was collecting everything, right? In the game with like that the video that we watched at that one point. So like when I do those things, it requires like new accounts, and I've made tons of new accounts in all these challenges, and each time I have to verify the phone number, and I've done it too many times. So now I'm calling you to save the day. So I'm gonna use your phone number, and then I need you to text me a code, and then I'm hoping that you're gonna give me the good luck to get what I need on this account. Thank you.
After we got this problem solved, it was time to get into the attempt starting on my second account. Surely this wouldn't take long.
This game is great. What a great game.
No matter, surely my third account would have better luck. Three more attempts and 3 more fails. Honestly, I was losing hope slowly, but we still had 2 more accounts that it surely would drop on. I hop on my 4th account and I'm greeted with the wide Crota screen. After that little bit of weirdness, it was time to get into the attempts. Here's how they went.
Bro, where's the loot? Where's the loot? Where's literally the loot? Wait, what is happening? Am I missing something? Please be something else there. Please be something else. No, I got baited by the challenge. No, I hate the challenge.
4 accounts and still no fruit. Surely our 5th account would be the turning point. I really didn't want to do another New Light campaign. Let's see how things went. That was unfortunately all of my accounts tapped out, and all I could do was smile through the pain. And thus, spending $0.6 was born. I went as fast as I can, speeding through the New Light campaign. Once I did, I decided that I would get to Guardian rank 3 so I could try some of the raid triumphs this time since the normal RNG was killing me. I rushed through my Neomuna chores so that I could get back into the raid, and unfortunately, this happened.
Those are runs that go, well, I'm contacting. No, not towards the end. Towards the end would be so painful if they're like, yeah, do the whole police mission again. Thank you. Sweet.
Nothing was going right, and everything was fighting against me at this point. RNG, Vex Incursion, servers, you name it. Once again, all I could do was sit on my couch and just smile through the pain and wait for the servers to come back on. One cool thing that happened was while I was waiting, G-Subs sent me a custom G-Subs bathrobe. Nothing like getting the exotics while you're warm and comfy. Make sure to use code CB at checkout, by the way. After we got back into the game, we speed through everything and finally get to Guardian rank 3 by stopping by the magic tree that deems that I can use Guardian ranks now. After this, it was back into the raid. During these checkpoint runs, we are going to be taking advantage of 2 different triumphs that boost RNG. 1, killing Oryx in one go, which meant we are going to be 1-phasing him, and 2, not killing the same ogre or knight twice, which is pretty easy when you do a 1-phase. We would be making this happen with my tractor cannon paired with 5 whisper catalysts. We finished the first run and I claimed my 2 triumphs, knowing it won't take effect until the next run, but I'm hoping it'll grant me some good luck. Let's see.
Please. 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 No. No.
No matter, the next 2 runs would have RNG boosters. Hopefully this would mean something. This was starting to feel like my main account if anybody remembers my original grind to get Touch of Malice.
Here we go. Here we go. Come on. Come on.
Nope. After this, I decided that we would grind 3 new accounts before we tried Oryx again. We were going to also be getting each of these accounts to Guardian rank 3 as well. This was brutal, and it took hours on hours on hours. Once we had all 3 accounts at Guardian rank 3 and ready to go, it was time to get back into the raid. Once again, I made sure we got both triumphs upon completing Oryx to give us the RNG boosters. I said a prayer to RNG to free my soul, and here was my fate.
Come on.
Let's recap. I've now tried Touch of Malice 27 times and I've failed miserably all 27 of those attempts. Could anything just go right? There was just no light at the end of the tunnel. But speaking of light, this amazing RNG meant it was time to go back to new light. The plan this time was to get my 10th account, yes I set my 10th account to Guardian rank 3 so we could do the triumphs. Then we would do a full run of triumphs to see if we could get better luck. We start off never standing on the same plates at the same time in the Totems challenge. Then at War Priest we make sure that everyone gets the buff before the same person grabs it again. Next we made sure that each damage phase that everybody got the Golgroth Gaze, which was a really fun blast from the past as well. We followed this up with the good old Flora's Lava challenge and the Sisters encounter. And just like that, finally we were back at Oryx the Taken King, who had taken my soul at this point. In this encounter, once again we one-phased them and didn't kill the same ogres and knights to get the 2 additional RNG boosters. All that was left was seeing if any of these 3 runs would be the run. Here's what happened.
There is no treasure.
Wait, this is what happiness looks like. And I told you that the chapter of this video is called Pain. Let's see what actually happened. We were now officially at 30 fails. I couldn't believe it. The RNG boosters were doing nothing, and I was regretting the time that I wasted getting to Guardian rank 3 on so many accounts and wasting time on triumphs. I was crushed. Absolutely crushed. I was so frustrated at this point over the challenge that I just had to take a nap to sleep it off. I wanted to keep grinding, but I just felt too defeated. I did promise myself that this would be the final sleep of the challenge. When I wake up, I'm still feeling sad, but it's time to finish this challenge. I decide we need to end day 9 on a win, so I jump back on my Titan on my first account to open up my 65 level Season Pass Exotic on my Titan since it's guaranteed to be a weapon. I just needed to see an exotic drop at this point. I go to Raoul and go back to our 100% exotic weapon target farm. We get the Cold Heart, bringing us up to 85 exotics. That concluded our day 9 with 85 exotics. Touch of Malice and Vex incursions have ruined this challenge. We officially needed to finish this challenge before another 24 hours went by if we wanted to successfully finish this challenge before 10 full days passed. Would we succeed? Only time would tell. Another big reason I decided that final nap I took was okay that I was talking about earlier was because I knew I'd wake up to Zur waiting for us with the final faded engram that we needed to have every single exotic weapon accounted for. This meant I could finally get every single random drop exotic weapon remaining in the challenge today, so our exotic total was gonna skyrocket fast. I start off on my hunter and began doing my first of 9 strikes that I would need to collect my final 3 exotic engrams on this character. As soon as I get started, I get a Vex incursion to spawn, so I hurry over. Truth be told, I only have 3 armor exotics left and they were all helmets, so I wasn't really tripping if this was a duplicate. I already had enough exotic engrams across my 3 characters to account for them, plus it was the helmet loss sector on Neomuna anyways. However, of course, since we don't need an exotic to drop from the Vex incursion, and because I don't care if it's a duplicate, you can already guess what happened.
1.
We get the stag because of course we got the stag, bringing us up to 86 exotics and only 2 armor exotics remaining. Of course. After this, I get back to the strike grind, and before I knew it, we were able to grab all 3 of our remaining exotic engrams. This brought me up to a total of 4 exotic engrams on my hunter. 1 from the exotic Zur box we got from earlier, and these 3 that we just earned. It was time to open all 4 of these engrams, but before I do, for some extra details, we were still missing 1 final hunter exotic armor piece. However, I wasn't worried because I had enough exotic engrams to cover all but 1 exotic for the rest of the challenge, and I could use Zur's faded engram to fill in the final gap. We had an extremely high chance of getting the remaining weapons, so I was mainly expecting to see weapons here. I opened up the first exotic, and I'm given the Merciless, bringing us up to 87 exotics. It goes to my postmaster, and I go to retrieve it when I'm greeted with this.
Oh, when did we get Skyburner's Catalyst?
We've gotten so many catalysts during this challenge. The next exotic we get is the Prospector, bringing us up to 88 exotics. The exotic weapon target farming was working beautifully. I open up our next exotic once again expecting to see a weapon, and to my satisfaction I'm met with the Vigilance Wing, bringing us up to 89 exotics. What exotic would drop for the big 90? Let's find out.
2, 1. And there's our helmet. And look at that.
We got our final hunter exotic, the Worm Husk Crown, bringing us up to the big 90 exotic mark. This felt fantastic. The ball was rolling and I was ready to keep it going. In the back of my head, I knew that we had some unfinished business to return to. We would talk about that later though. After this, I swapped over to my Warlock as it was time to repeat a similar process. We had currently 4 Warlock exotics ready to be opened. These were exotic engrams that we saved from earlier, 3 being from before the reset when we speedran strikes, and 1 being from a world drop in the Lost Sector from the other day. Once again, these would most likely all be weapons, but even if they weren't, we still had the safety faded engram. Even better, we had 3 more exotic engrams to get for the 3 Pinnacle Ritual engrams this week that we still hadn't earned on my Warlock, so before the day was over, we'd have 7 exotics to open up on my Warlock. Let's start with the 4 that we did have. I opened up the first exotic and I met with the Nezarec Sen, bringing us up to 91 exotics. I was shocked as we had more weapons in our loot pool, but this wasn't necessarily a bad thing at this point like I mentioned earlier. With that, we officially not only just completed my Warlock armor, but we obtained every single free exotic armor piece in the game, which felt great. Before I open up any other exotics, I want to mention that at this point officially every single exotic engram was guaranteed to be an exotic weapon we didn't have. This was exotic target farming at its finest, and it felt really good to be at this point of the challenge. The next exotic we got to drop was the Telesto Besto, bringing us up to 92 exotics on the list. We opened up engram number 3 and we were met with the Suros Regime, bringing us up to 93 exotics. I opened up my 4th exotic and I'm met with the original laser tag weapon, the Prometheus Lens, bringing us up to 94 exotics. I want to explain now why I planned this so carefully on a spreadsheet. I had 3 random drop exotic weapons remaining, Darcy, Sweet Business, and Sunshot, and I had 3 more Warlock exotics already ready to be earned from ritual exotic engrams. For the icing on the cake, Xur had a faded engram as well as a backup. All the chips were falling into place, and it was time to get our last 3 exotic random drop weapons. We get to work on the strikes, and before you know it, we have 2 of the engrams of the 3 ready to go. You may have noticed that I only set 2, and that's because I decided to let Xur do the honors of giving us our last random drop exotic. I head to the tower and I open up our first engram and I'm given the Sunshot, 95 exotics off the list. The good old Darcy was the next exotic to drop, bringing us up to 96 exotics. After this, all that was left was heading to Xur so he could give us our final prize. Lucky for us, he happened to be in the tower this week, so I paid him a visit so he could end this chapter of the challenge. Would Xur act right? Let's find out.
See you later. And that is how you successfully target farm weapons.
And just like that, we had 97 exotics of the total 99 exotics obtained. We officially had every exotic that wasn't a random drop raid exotic. I wanted to celebrate, but I knew we were already 30 fails deep in Touch of Malice tries. I came up with a new plan to tackle Touch of Malice now that I had a fresh perspective. I decided that I would create 3 New Light accounts, get them all up to Guardian rank 3, get all of them the 6 RNG boosters that we could get them, and then we'd have 18 tries of OP attempts at Touch of Malice. If this method didn't work, it would just mean that I needed to uninstall the game, as that would mean 48 total fails. I get to work hopefully one final time on New Light. This process took well over 3 hours just to get all 3 of these accounts raidable. To put all of this in perspective, once I'd be done with this, I would have created 13 accounts and done the full New Light campaign 15 times and the New Light first mission 39 times just in this challenge alone. If it didn't drop here, it was gonna be the end for me. I just couldn't take it anymore. By this point, you all had kept the subathon going for over 9 days, and I couldn't be any more thankful and grateful to you guys for keeping this challenge alive and for all of the support. This process was grueling, and mentally I couldn't help but go crazy hearing Shahan's voice over and over and over and over again. I was going insane. To make matters worse, the game decided that it no longer wanted to follow its own code.
For the city.
I'm soft locked. Hopefully they'll still let me grab the quest. Dude, I'm soft
Nothing
locked.
like having a Titan out
So
on the front
cool.
line.
Wait, what just happened? I was like trying to plan for the next part, and then I was like, why am I not moving?
Once they're all ready to raid.
Whoa.
I was used to doing that. That was weird. Oh my. There's
There's ghosts.
Bro, what is going on with these ships? Why do they have to like come all the way down to like? It's like they're laying eggs. A bunch of dregs in the ground. Oh no, it doesn't work. That's fun. That's funny.
After all of this weirdness and grinding for over 4 hours, I was finally ready to give this up to 18 strong attempts. We dive in getting the Totems challenge done first once again. We followed this up by getting the War Priest challenge done. After this, it was back to Golgoroth challenge, and he didn't put up very much resistance. Once we were past Golgi, it was time for the floor to once again be lavaified. All that was left after this was killing the Taken King in one phase while not killing the ogres and knights more than once. After this, it was time to go all in and see where the chips would fall. Here's how it went. It was beginning to feel like deja vu all over again. My soul couldn't take it anymore. I was at my breaking point and everything was feeling hopeless. I thought this was going to be the end of the challenge. But on my very next attempt, this happened.
Wait. I feel like I heard it. Wait. I'm not gonna cap. I feel like I heard it. I feel like I heard it. I really do feel like I heard it. I feel like I heard it. Hold on. I really do feel like I heard it.
Transmission's out of here. Go.
I really do feel like I heard it. I really do feel like I heard it. Please, for the love of God, please don't abate at me. Please don't abate at me. Please don't abate at me. Please. Thank you. Oh. Yes. Oh my gosh,
Finally, after 32 attempts, Touch of Malice was ours and it felt amazing. I could literally cry, I was so happy. With this breakthrough, getting our final exotic in sub 10 full days was looking like it could actually be possible once again. 98 exotics off the list. Everything was gonna come down to one final raid. We had already failed 3 times at this point, but we had 12 more accounts or 36 remaining attempts on these accounts that I had created. If it didn't drop here, it never would. I hop in the Vault of Glass, clearing it as fast as possible. I made the decision that the first 20 attempts we wouldn't do any RNG boosts, and if it started to look hopeless, we would go back and start grabbing some of the triumphs on some of my later accounts. Because of this, we get to start right at Atheon and we get right into the action. Would it drop on our very first run of these attempts? Let's find out.
I'll see y'all later. Just not yet, I guess.
No worries. It now dropping on the first try wasn't really the end of the world, but surely it wouldn't take too long, right?
Hold on. I'm glad we didn't get none.
It was starting to not look great, but now wasn't the time to let my faith waver. We kept pushing as hard as we could, and here's what came out of it.
Or where is it? Oh. Darn it.
Let it be real.
I'm sorry to inform you guys, but the One Piece just isn't real. Would it drop on our next account? Let's see.
Please. Ah!
We were now up to 15 fails for Vex Mythoclast. It was starting to look like this would be the new Touch of Malice. The 10 full day mark was quickly approaching, and we had less than 12 hours to get this challenge done. Before we go any further, let's recap some of the important stats from this challenge. Vex Mythoclast hadn't dropped in 15 runs. Touch of Malice dropped in 32 runs. Necrochasm took 9 Crota runs to obtain. Also, we received 17 duplicates from Vex incursions. Getting back into the challenge though, would this next run be it? Once again, another swing and another miss. We jumped on to the next character and we tried to keep the momentum going. Here's how the next run went. Another try, and unfortunately another fail. I was beginning to think that unfortunately this challenge just was never gonna end. But after 17 fails with Vex Mythoclast, on the next run, this happened.
Yes, 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 we did it. Yes, it's real. It's real. Yes. Oh, we did it.
The adrenaline rushed through my body as I hadn't had a full night's rest in over 9 days. The stream had been going for over 200 hours and I had only slept for 23 of those hours. My mind was on the Destiny 1 subathon, which is going to be coming at the end of February, so make sure to like this video and follow the Twitch at twitch.tv/cbgray if you want to see it live. And just like that, this concluded the story of how I collected all 99 obtainable free exotics in 9 days, 14 hours, 14 minutes, and 52 seconds in one stream. And man, I wish Heir Apparent was available so we could have gotten all 100. Thanks for watching.